Okay, welcome everyone to our Tuesday, November 5th, 2019 school board meeting. All members are present, including our new student representative, Sophia, and so welcome. And we have three ladies that are going to help us with our pledge this evening, and that's Sylvie Whalen, Arden Whalen, and Helen Wood, all from Aquarian. So ladies, if you would start us out, everybody stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. That was absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So at this time, I'm going to read an opening statement, and it's just that, first of all, November is the month to recognize Alaska Native and Indian American heritage and celebrate. And of course, I always want to take this moment to recognize how important it is that we do recognize that we are residing on traditional Dena'ina land, and thank you. We want to welcome you to our meeting and thank you for attending and supporting the work of the Anchorage School District and this board. The mission of the Anchorage School District is in educating all students for success in life. And now I'd like to turn the mic over to our student rep and let her read her opening statement.
On behalf of the Anchorage School Board, we would like to thank students, parents, teachers, staff, school business partners, and the entire community for your investment in our district with your time, your talent, and your tax dollars. If you are unable to be physically present for the entire meeting, you may choose to tune in to the Anchorage School District YouTube channel to watch the live stream. Recordings of meetings are also available through the agenda and board docs. My name is Sophia Maria Holder, and I am the student representative to the board. I was elected to serve through the ASD Student Advisory Board. Although my votes are advisory only, I offer a student voice to this body.
Thank you, Sophia. And now for the approval of the agenda. Is there any dissension on the agenda? If there's no dissension, we will pass the agenda as printed, stated, whatever. And for the best part of the whole evening, and that's recognizing staff and students.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. All right, my name is Dina Bishop, and I serve as the superintendent of the Anchorage School District, and I serve here with the board. And for those of you who have never been to focus on staff and students, it's a time that 3 years ago the board purposely put aside during their meetings to focus on the people who make ASD great. And those people are our students, their parents, our community, as well as our staff. So this evening, we are all about sports because we have 4 state-winning teams here present with us this evening.
This is what makes ASD great.
All right, there you have it. All right, so we are excited to celebrate ASD state champions tonight. We have 4 schools to highlight who placed first for track and field, 2 teams, soccer as well as softball. So when I call your team, please come forward. So Chugiak High is in the house. Come on down. They're great. All right, this way, this way. All right. These gentlemen, this team consisted of 21 athletes, and they took the 2019 Chugiak Boys Track and Field, or statewide track and field. The Chugiak Mustangs were number 1. Congratulations. 6 members have since graduated, and 3 of the 6 team members who participated last year are running collegiately. So their folks are probably very happy about that, having college paid for. This is the first time in more than 2 decades that the Chugiak High boys team has won state in track and field. The team collected points in every event from throws, shot put and discus, I guess. Do you do javelin in high school? Nope, no spears. And throws, jumps, and sprints to distance running. The boys joined the ranks of a strong Chugiak girls team who won state championships back-to-back in 16 and 17 after a 20-year drought as well. The team wants to thank the parents, coaches, and administrators, and we have their lead administrator here, Mrs. Hatswell, who helped build this program to earn back-to-back female, now the male, state champions. Mustangs, you rock! Congratulations. So, we have a little way we do business here is we play pass the mic. And who are the captains? Did they graduate? Okay, so we have one captain here that didn't graduate. When the mic gets to you, you have to say something extra special, being a leader of these other teammates. So you have a long way to think about it, but what we'd like, we're going to start, and we would have a comment from your principal, and then if you're just want to get over with, you can just thank your parents or whoever is your favorite fan, and tell us your grade and your events. How's that? Oh, and your name. We would love to know who you are. Here we go. We're going to roll it. Pass the mic.
Thank you to the student athletes, our parents for joining us tonight, the community, and a special thanks to Coach Hall for making all of this possible. Without you, I don't think that we would be where we are today. So I'm passing the mic to our coach.
Hi there. I always have my pink clipboard. You can ask the kids. So even here, I just want to quickly, if you are, is Jacob up here? Okay. If you are a parent or a supporter, a friend, or a coach of these kids, please stand up. All right. It just takes a Is this working? Yeah, it takes a huge village. I know it's a cliche, but it's very true. We really depended on parents' support for the meets. This team is truly a team. Not only this year or this past year did we win state, but we also, if you look back, we actually, every meet we entered in which they did score as a team, we also won. So it's kind of neat to go undefeated as well in that genre. We have a lot of seniors who left. We do have one senior who is here with us. So James, I really love that you came back to get your award or recognition. But we had a bunch of seniors who have gone on to run in college, and so we're really going to miss them. They brought collectively about 60 points to us. Jeremiah Wilson and Daniel Bausch in particular, they're both running in college. They get a nod because those guys, Miss Wilson, are you here? Can you stand up? Yep, that's Jeremiah's mom. They brought us a lot of points. But fortunately, we have this whole team is going to help us, hopefully, to another good season. But two in particular we're really going to count on. Logan, if you can step forward. Where are you in there? Logan was our top hurdle guy. He won state as a sophomore in the 110 hurdles, which was quite an accomplishment. He helped us in our relays as well, so we definitely are going to depend on him this year in the sprint. So hopefully he can pick up where Jeremiah left off. Thanks. And then Hiram, you got to step forward too. Hiram was hot on the heels of Daniel all season, chasing him, coming up with new strategies to try to get him. Now that Daniel's gone, hopefully the court is his and he can get on there and do it. So thanks everybody. Thanks to okay. Quickly, Charity, Brian, Luke, and there's only three there, our coaches.
Hi, I'm Jackson Wall. I'm a junior, and I do all the jumping events.
I'm Austin Haar. I am a senior, and I ran in the 4x2.
I'm Owen Lewis. I'm a junior, and I'm a triple jumper.
Jacob Lucina. I do mid-distance, 400, 800, junior.
I graduated. My name is James Mathis, and I am a hurdler. I'm Calvin Brady. I ran the 4x8 and I run the 400 and 800. And I'd like to say I had a super extra fun time running with all these men.
My name's Logan Matthew. I'm a junior. I run both the hurdle events. And I'd like to thank my mom and my dad for supporting me.
I'm Wyatt Rohde, and I run the hurdles and sprints, and I'm a junior.
I'm Hiram. I run distance, and I'd like to thank my mom and my dad and my family for supporting me through this.
Awesome. I'm Justin Nevels. I do jumping, 400, and the hurdles.
You're great.
Oh, I'm a senior.
I'm a senior as well, Jared Parks, and I jump.
I'm Will Gerlach. I'm a sophomore, and I run distance.
I'm Ezra Erickson. I'm a junior, and I sprint.
Yeah, I'm Luke Steele. I'm the sprint coach for the Mustangs. Just like to thank all the awesome athletes we have returning, all the kids who graduated, and then the great staff we have put together.
I'm Brian Kuchowski. I'm the hurdle coach, and it's a great group of athletes we've got to work with, and thanks for recognizing them.
I'm Charity Manwaring. I'm the jumping coach for boys and girls, and echo our other coaches' statements. We couldn't do it without great staff and parent support, so thanks everyone.
Yay.
All righty. They're a track team, so they're going to get back to their seats very fast. And now for the next awardees. The ladies state champions, once again, from all the high schools, 4A high schools in the state. The women's state champion also comes from ASD. Please come forward, 2019 South High School. All right. And we have the coaches here. And a former athlete here and current athlete. All right. So, this is a back-to-back championship for South High School ladies. In the previous year, the Lady Wolverines came from behind to beat Chugiak, ending their 2-year, I guess, the 17-18, so you must have taken it away in 19. Let's see. Sorry, didn't want to put a downer. But this season, after losing a key athlete who moved, they made it a point to win and win decisively. Every group captured points, even unexpected points, to claim the back-to-back state championship. And one of the things that the coach said is, although you might think track is difficult because most of the events are individual, it's team points that score. So having athletes in every event and score points is truly a team event, and it's amazing and exciting to see the points change at meets. So I'm going to also pass the mic, and you get to go first and share about this great Wolverine team.
So I'm Paige Searles. I'm a senior, and I ran the 100, 200, and the relays, and I was a 100-meter region champion last year.
I'm Todd Houston. I was a throwing coach. I was glad to see some of our girls come through near the end of the season. Came together as a team. It was awesome. Thanks, Coach Lou. Thanks to all the girls. Thanks to our admin and our faculty and our parents.
I'm Chris Ruggles. I'm the activities principal over at South. I actually wasn't there last year. This is my first year there, but I just expect this again this year coming up, so no pressure.
I'm Coach Lewis. It's been just an honor to coach these girls. Most of our team is we'd lost just a couple of girls from last year's team. As you see, most of our girls are out training right now because of Chugiak, so we couldn't make it. So it's been great competition, especially for Chugiak and us. We just love to compete against each other and really push out the best in both teams. And it's just been an honor, and we're ready to go for next year.
Thank you, Coach Lewis. And it's quite exciting to have the northernmost 4A high school against the southernmost 4A high school in our district. So we're just going to go back to you since this lady beside me is the fastest runner in the state of Alaska. So when you get the 100-meter title, you are the fastest woman. So how does that feel?
Just a correction, I'm actually just the region champion, not the state champion, so I don't want to take the props for that.
Okay, what's going to happen in 2020, Paige?
I hope to be the state champion for both the 100 and 200.
All right, and why do you like track? What attracted you to this sport in all the sports that you could have possibly done?
I like the individual aspect so that you can focus on yourself, but then at the same time you have the team aspect, so you're contributing to a greater picture and more points.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, South High Wolverines! Let's go take a photo. And now, ladies and gentlemen, next on the list, we move to the real football. Ladies, please come forward. 2019 Diamond High Girls State Soccer Champions, please come forward. And, last time was Luke Allman in the field here, principal of South High. Was he here? I forgot to announce him. But we do have Tina Johnson-Harris here as the principal of the Diamond Lynx to also say a few words, as well as the coach. And let me say a few words about these ladies as well. The 2018-19 season was a transitional year for the Diamond Lynx. Players exhibited talent, determination, and character as they worked hard through the season to make up for the loss of 8 seniors in key positions the prior year. One new addition to the team is Haley Rogers. Is Haley here? Oh, she's not here. This is amazing, having been a former soccer player and not a keeper, but an athletic and talented goalkeeper who had never played soccer before. Haley made all-conference second team for goalie as a first-time keeper. Congratulations, Haley. Yep. So The 2019 season boasted a record of 11-3-1 with 42 goals scored by a combination of 12 different players. The Lady Lynx had a conference record of 8-1-1. 2018-19 was a season of starting anew, building from the ground up and proving that they could come together and build a winning team in the end when it really counted at state. Congratulations, ladies. What do you think? Who's the captain? Captain here. The captain is first. So we will share some thoughts from the captain about her team, your grade, your position. I played soccer in the 80s when you had fullbacks, which now are defensive players, correct? So share a little bit about what you do and your age and what's the best thing about soccer.
Hi, I'm Mallory Toma. I'm a senior this year, and I play center mid. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that supported us all season and stayed behind us even when we had our tough games. I'd like to say thank you to all of these players that are really awesome to play with.
Hi, I'm Maya Edwards. I'm a senior. I play midfield. I've been playing forever, and I just love everyone getting together and just having a good time.
Hi, I'm Shanley Sullivan. I'm a senior. I play defense, and I also like the friendship aspect of the game and like just having fun with your friends.
Hi, I'm Simona Chavez. I'm a sophomore, and I play defense, and I love soccer because you have a lot of friendships that you make.
Hi, I'm Keegan Applegate. I'm a sophomore as well. I play in the midfield, and I just like hanging out with the girls all the time.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Grace Beamer. I also play in the midfield, and I'm a sophomore. What I like about soccer most is hanging out with these girls like every day of the week during soccer season.
My name is Edelon Johnson, and I'm a sophomore, and I play center mid. And what I love about soccer is just the team aspect and the friendships you make with it.
Hi, my name is Becca Shaw. I'm a sophomore, and my favorite part of soccer is probably also the friendships that you make when you play it. Yeah.
Imagine that we all chose.
Congratulations. And I know that for many years, Diamond High has always been in the top. So who did you play this time to win state? South. And many a time that has occurred a lot. So I've been watching over the years. So would you like to say a few words about these young ladies?
Hi, I am Tina Johnson Harris, and I'm the senior principal. What I like about soccer is that I'm a soccer mom, and they know what that means. Many of the students who graduated, I saw them from a very small age play with my girls. Coach Tomo, Coach Valesco, we all are like family, so it was great to hear that they won, even though I was not here in the States. And I want to commend them for having the willingness to continue the legacy. So good job, ladies.
Hi, I'm the assistant coach here at Diamond, when coach the JV assistant with the varsity program. But I'd like to thank the school district and Principal Harris here for the dedication that they've provided to this team. I've been fortunate to be a part of this program this will be my 5th season. 3 of those years, these ladies have made it to the finals and came out victorious. It's been impressive. But what's really impressive, if you follow soccer, is they compress 17 games to 7 weeks, and at the professional level they play 1 game a week and rest the rest of the week. We run the snot out of them literally and hope that they can still survive plus do their school work. So it's really impressive to see what they've accomplished. I appreciate the opportunity to see them recognized here tonight.
Congratulations. So ladies, as a surprise, when you're in a soccer huddle, you usually have a favorite chant. You want to share it with us? Go ahead. Yeah. Come on. Captain, you call it. Okay. We will watch the traditions of children. Woo! All right, let's get a picture. Right here, ladies. Lady Lynx. I found the microphone. And thank you for sticking with us, ladies and gentlemen. We have one more celebration. If we weren't such a great school district, this would have ended hours ago. So now let me say the last state champions that we need to give our recognition to this evening are the 2019 East High Softball State Champions. Please come forward. All right. I remember these ladies just a year ago. Winning state last year as well, is that correct? Yeah. So East High Softball is not only known in Alaska as a strong team, the legacy of the local youth softball has won nationally in the Softball World Series. So Alaska on the east side is known nationally, and many of these ladies are sought after for scholarships at D1 universities. So East High is bad to the bone in softball. So with that, let me just share that the 2019 East High State Championship softball team ended the year with a 30-6 record. In the state tournament, the T-Birds lost their first game and then went on a monumental win streak of 5 games in a row, including 4 straight games on championship Saturday. Junior captain Lexi Davis pitched all 4 games in an unbelievable show of toughness and timely home runs by freshman Layla Tosi. And junior Kiana Smith led the team to victory. The whole team came together on Saturday and refused to lose. For the year, the team outscored their opponents 362 runs to 102 and had 15 shutout wins, including a streak of 6 games in a row. The team batting average for the year was 401. That's pretty impressive. I don't even think the Nationals had that. And they hit 27 home runs this year. Look out this year as all starters are returning again for the T-Birds. Woohoo! All right. So, ladies, we're going to do the same thing and share the greatness about your team. And it's funny because Dick knows I've known you for over 20 years. He's no kids in the school anymore. I think his kids are older than me, but he continues to give his, they are older than me, and he continues to give his time to children. So that's great. Keep coaching. So with that, and you got the family in it because that's, isn't that your son? Yeah, yeah. So Principal Spinell is here. Let's say a few words. Captain? You see, look, they had time to plan it way back there. They were, all right, so here you go. Coach Knowles.
Well, I just want to say very little. It's just been a great coaching these kids. I've coached a lot of them since Little League time, so it's great to, and we have a lot of fun in the season. At least I hope I do. I have a lot of fun, so that's why I keep coming back. So. I do have a couple awards, though, because 2 of our girls made first team all-conference, and that would be Lexi right here, which is our captain. Is that it? Yeah, and the second one would be Kiana Smith, which was a big home run hitter. And then we had 2 girls make second team all-conference, and neither one of them here. One, Gloria White, which is a senior, well, coming into senior. She's our catcher. And then, who was her name? Layla Tosi, which was a big home run hitter for her, and she was only a freshman, and she made second team all-conference. So I was very happy with that. But all these girls really deserved it. I wanted to get all 6 girls on first team All-American, all-conference, but they didn't make it, so I don't get to vote, so that's the way it goes. But we're looking for a good year this year. Like I say, all the girls will be returning, so, and we have some good freshmen coming in, so we'll see.
Just real quick, I just want to say this is probably the best group of ladies I've ever coached, and great set of parents, or group of parents, I'm sorry. I also want to say that this team never gave up, and that's what probably their strongest point is.
Okay, so hi, my name's Lexi Davis. I'm a senior. I pitch and I play first, and my favorite part of being on this team last year was just how competitive we all are. Everything was always a competition with us, and at practices it made it super fun because none of us like losing, so we all made sure we did our best.
Hi, I'm Amber Smith, and I'm a junior. I play shortstop and second. I play second base and shortstop. And my favorite part about this team is that we can all come together. Like we had a rough season last year, but when state came, my girls pulled through. It was and we've been playing together since we were little, so that helped too. And yeah, I love these girls.
My name's Kiana, and I'm a senior. I play short, and I pitched a little. Yeah, this season was very rough in the beginning, but we literally pulled it together literally the last day. So that was fun.
Also, I'd like to thank God above all else, because without him, we wouldn't have anything that we have right now.
Amen.
Hi, I'm Molly Wurst. I'm graduated, and my favorite part about this team is the dynamic. I've known most of these girls since I was 12, and the coach since Little League, so I love it.
Hi, my name is Allie, and I'm a junior. My favorite part was really just beating the people that said we couldn't do it, and yeah.
Hi, my name is Esper. I play outfield. And my favorite part about this team is how we've grown up together, so we're used to how we play and we get along most of the time.
Hi, my name is Jorelis Sanchez. I'm an outfielder too, and I'm a junior. Most of these girls have said what I enjoy is that we all have grown up together, basically playing in Little League, and then ending up going to the same high school and playing all together.
My name is Chloe Brodakowski. I'm a senior, and what I love about this team is it's a family aspect, honestly. Everyone, we have a great friendship, and it's just like a big family. And I remember this is the first sport I've actually joined in my whole educational career, and I just felt so welcomed by everyone, and I love everyone on the team.
My name's Hannah. I graduated. I play outfield. I just love hanging out with all these girls. Just friendly, love the energy. That's it. Yeah.
Hi, I'm assistant coach Rich Knowles, and these girls are a bunch of characters. That's all I gotta say. It's great coaching them.
Hi, I'm Sam Spinola, principal, and I'm very proud of our ladies. I have to say one thing. I'm a baseball fan, but there's nothing like watching these girls play softball. They're really great, and they're enjoyable to watch. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, I'm going to put a plug in for the school board, who values all kinds of co-curriculars, whether they're athletic or academic, and the display of what is learned. You heard we lost and we pulled it together. We had to work as a team. We had to trust each other, and those are the same things that our employers want in businesses. That are the same people we want in our military. They're the same people we want in our classrooms. And learning doesn't always happen, sitting in a desk. It also happens on a soccer field, on a track, as well as on a softball field, a pitch or whatever. So, ladies, thanks for showing the grit, because everyone was shocked when you were the first seed going in and played the team that you should have beat easily, but came back around. It was very exciting, And you have grit. So when we go over there and say our cheer, we're going to say East High has grit. How's that? Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, all of our teams, these are the people, President, that are what? Ladies and gentlemen, they make us great. All right. Let's take a picture, ladies. Grit, grit.
If I could have all our board members back, please. I don't, yeah, I'm going to. No. All right, we're going to move on with reports, and our first report is by our Student Advisory Board representative, Ms. Sophia.
Go ahead and turn it on, just start talking.
Yeah, just.
The Student Advisory Board has not met since the last meeting, but we'll be meeting next Tuesday, which is November 12th.
Okay. And what are you guys going to be talking about? Do you know?
We covered that today in our executive board meeting. So we'll be talking about throwing an event in with Ferrandi kind of. So that's kind of going to be exciting.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then we have our communications board. Do we have a report?
The Communications Committee, Madam Chair, has not met since our last meeting, but our next meeting is next Tuesday, November 12th, 3 to 4 p.m. in the conference room. Okay. And our topics for that meeting will be the legislative luncheon and then beginning our conversations regarding our legislative priorities.
Thank you. And governance?
Governance Committee also hasn't met, but we do have a couple of agenda items tonight that have come out from the committee that we'll be voting on.
Okay. And Finance?
The Finance Committee also has not met. Our next meeting is
previous to our next board meeting on November 19th, and the agenda is still to be determined. However, I anticipate budget as being part of the conversation.
And I know that you and Andy attended the conference where you're going. Are you guys ready to report on that, or do you need another board meeting? Okay. Mr. Hallman, did you have anything you wanted to say in regards?
Yeah, I'll just say real briefly that one of the focuses for me was looking at data that other states get, how they use it. There seems to be quite a bit of variability across the country, and at the work session earlier, I think it was the beginning of a good dive into recognizing that there is useful information there, but it's not always readily apparent. That just knowing proficient, not proficient, or 1-star, 2-star, 3 stars doesn't really tell you much. The information's a lot harder to get out of it than that. And that's what a number of the sessions that I went to were about.
Could you just share what conference that was that you went to?
Apologize. Yeah, Council of Great City Schools in their fall meeting.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other committee reports or, oh, yes, sorry.
Thank you. The Aquarian Ad Hoc Committee wrapped up, I think it was last week. I don't have the date in front of me. And we had 2 recommendations to the board. One was a recommendation that was voted 9-0 that the Aquarian APC worked with the administration on getting a memorandum of understanding through this school year regarding any emergency capital improvements, and that would be by November 26th. We could expect that. That's to address if something happened this winter, to have an understanding of who's going to pay for it, or whatever terms they come to, but that deadline of November 26th. And so we should be able to have that presented to the board shortly after that. And then the other one, in a vote of 5-3, the committee recommended adding Aquarian to the 2020 bond up to $10 million.
Okay, thank you. And we haven't had a strategic planning steering committee, but our survey, our link out there on our website is now up and running. So community members, staff, students, we invite everyone to go out there and please participate in our survey. We are also starting to set up I'll say appointments, for a lack of a better word, to go out to different organizations one-on-one and get feedback from them on what they think a successful ASD student is. So we have our next regional conference or presentation will be at Service. It's a Service South Region. It's going to be Thursday, November the 7th from 6 to 7:30 at Golden View. And then if you go on our website, the next one will be Bartlett East Region. It'll be Tuesday, November 12th from 6 to 7:30 at Baggage. Chugach, Eagle River Region will be Wednesday, November 13th from, all of these are 6 to 7:30 at Mirror Lake. And then Diamond West Region will be Thursday, November the 21st, again the same time at Mears. And I really encourage you as parents and community members to please come out and share with us what you see as important for our strategic planning, because it really is about the community and the needs of our community. These are children that are going to be servicing you and having businesses, and what does that look like, and we need your feedback. Okay. Thank you. And then superintendent, we have public testimony first. So the board welcomes comment on non-agenda, non-action items. We value public comment as it ensures that we remain aware of public thoughts and ideas and concerns and informs our decision making. There is a 1-hour time slot at the beginning of the meeting. Testimony in excess of 1 hour will be heard at the end of the meeting or can be submitted in writing. We have a table front and center with microphones available for testimony, and I will call 2 names, and when the one speaks, I'll call another one up just so we can keep the flow going. We have put a screen right on front now that you've noticed, because it was really hard to see the timer on the side. So it's right in front. You'll be able to look at your time when it turns yellow, red, that sort of thing. In order to provide equity, we'd like to make sure that there's no clapping after testimony, as it may intimidate others wishing to testify with opposing views. And additionally, it's not our practice that board members answer questions or engage in discussion with members of the public. This is your time to speak and our time to listen. The board will consider all information shared by the public, and when deemed necessary, issues raised in testimony will be referred to the administration for follow-up. And so our first speakers are Ms. Hotch and Scott Hobbs. And whenever you see the clock here begin, you can start.
All right. Good evening. My name is Tasha Hotch. I live here in Anchorage. I have a son that attends East High School. And one of the activities that some of our students in the district participate in is the Elders and Youth Conference that happens in October. And sometimes I just really enjoy seeing what our kids will come up with if we put them in a room and ask them what it is that they want. And so I wanted to just bring to your guys' attention one of the resolutions that came out of that conference. It was Resolution 19-59. The title was A Resolution Calling for the Alaska State Board of Education and Early Development to include teaching Alaska Native languages as a foreign language requirement for high school graduation with funding. And just to kind of highlight one of their whereas clauses, it says a student's knowledge of the Alaska Native language relevant to their area fosters pride in their identity and promotes a sense of belonging at school and their community, and communities do not currently have adequate access to Alaska Native language education. And as a parent of a student that's an Alaska Native student who has had the opportunity to enjoy access to Alaska Native languages through our Title VI Summer Enrichment Program, I know that my son loved that. I loved seeing him light up. I loved him coming home and sharing with me how he's learning our language when I didn't have an opportunity to do that while I was in school. And so for me to see this come out of that conference, I thought, oh my goodness, how come no one has thought of this before? And I know that funding is tight everywhere, and to ask for something new with funding is a challenge, but I'd like for you guys to consider supporting this when it comes up in conversation. And just think of the impact that in every conversation I've had with people around the district, from my community to the Alaska Native community to just people in the grocery store, people are looking for ways for us to connect our education and our culture, and this is just one way that we could do that. So I hope that you take a better look at Resolution 19-59. I sent the wording to Katie, and if needed, I can send a link to the resolution itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I could have Heidi Whalen, and Scott, when you see the clock, you can begin.
Hello, members of the school board. My name is Scott Hobbs, and I will be speaking to you today about making all sports open to both genders. I'll go over the issues that this policy might have and the unique benefits that this policy will have for the Anchorage School District. So Birch Bay, the former Democratic Senator of Indiana and author of Title IX, said that Title IX is rather simple. Don't discriminate on the basis of sex. So adults may wonder if students will want to participate in certain sports if offered the chance to play. There are sports that both boys and girls would like to do. Some boys would want to play volleyball and some girls want to play tackle football. My parents personally do not allow me to play tackle football due to multiple concussions that I got when I was younger. And they do let me play intramural flag football at Romig, and I love it. But once I go to high school, I can't play flag football because it's only offered to girls. But I took a survey at my school last week where I asked boys the question that if there was boys volleyball, would they play? Out of 64 boys, I only got 2 no's. So that means that 62 boys would love to play volleyball. And also, Title IX states that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded. That means to me that all students should be allowed to play no matter what their gender is in any sport. So if students want to participate in these sports, why should we hold them back? There is the possible issue of a lack of funding that has been brought up also by the previous speaker. And I think it won't be really hard to fund more sports, as more students will be paying fees to participate in these sports. Another issue that could come up is possibility of a lack of coaches to fill the needs of students. But in Title IX it says nothing against holding the practices for different genders at the same time and place. This would mean that you could hold joint practices, which could increase competitiveness and help teach students who haven't already played the sport competitively to learn how to play better as they practice alongside those who played the sport before. So now I'll go on to the unique benefits that this policy would have. Allowing students to play sports that they cannot currently play will boost morale in schools. It will create a sense of unity and teamwork through inclusion. It will also create a greater sense of acceptance in schools, which is a necessary element to the nurturing of all children. This all adds up to creating successful students, which is the Anchorage School District's main goal in education. If you pass this policy, it will enhance education, sports, and student morale. It will elevate the Anchorage School District as a progressive and accepting district that is willing to make changes based on public opinion and recommendation. The public will see the Anchorage School District as a place where change can be made, and the public will have a more positive outlook towards the school board. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to have had the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you, Scott. Very good. If I could have Christopher, let me put my glasses back on. Morgan? Christopher? Okay, is there Lisa? Yes, yeah, thank you. And Heidi, you can begin when you see the clock.
Good evening. My name is Heidi Wayland, and I have 2 daughters at Aquarian. I'd like to start by thanking each school board member, Dr. Bishop, and her team for all the effort you have dedicated to the very serious facility issues facing Aquarian Charter School right now. We appreciate all of the responses you have written and the time you have spent learning about this issue and the history that got us here. We are grateful to you for establishing an ad hoc committee to work on a solution and for the committee's 5-3 vote under Margot Bellamy's leadership to recommend that Aquarian's facility needs be added to this year's bond for up to $10 million. A team of engineers and contractors have verified that the building has good bones, and ASD's Tom Roth confirmed that the capital repairs would likely give our facility another 20 years. We're also grateful to the community leaders who have spoken up to remind us all of the statutes that were passed in 2014 to ensure that public charter schools have equitable access to capital funds, and to remind us of the significance to the Spenard community of having a vital school instead of a vacant lot in the heart of Spenard. We would specifically like to thank Senator Kathy Giesel, Senator Natasha von Imhoff, former U.S. Senator Margaret Begich, Representative Harriet Drummond, Representative Matt Clayman, Jay Stange in the Spenard Community Council, Andre Spinelli of Spinelli Homes, MJ Thim from the APD, Shauna Toma, the former Deputy Director of Economic and Community Development, Assembly members Austin Quinn Davidson, Cameron Perez Virdia, Suzanne LaFrance, Meg Zalatel, Forrest Dunbar, and Felix Rivera, and the countless parents and community members who have reached out on Aquarian's behalf. Each school has its own story, its own unique set of circumstances, but I would like to remind you that we are all one ASD. We are stronger when we work together and when we stand up for each other's needs. Aquarian community, please stand up. We understand that the bond package is a non-action agenda item tonight, and that you'll be voting to approve the final bond package at the November 19th meeting. If you include us in this year's bond, we promise you that we will redirect our energy to supporting Anchorage school bonds, yes, and getting out the vote to pass the 2020 bond. In 2015, our facility was ranked at the top of the ASD's Critical Facility Condition Index, and our roof was one of several projects that was a priority 1 need. If Aquarian were a neighborhood school, our roof would have already been replaced and other items repaired. On behalf of the entire Aquarian community, I ask each of you to do the right thing and move to amend the current bond package tonight to include Aquarian's critical facility needs. Our children have waited their turn.
Thank you. If I could have Whitney Diartry, did I say that right? Whitney? Ah, I see her, okay. And Lisa, you can begin when you see the clock.
Thank you. I am an ASD teacher in an ASD school. I'm the art teacher at Aquarian Charter, and I am proud to say I have my dream job. It is recommended by the National Art Education Association that elementary students receive art instruction at least 60 minutes per week, every week.
Our program is doing this. Aquarian is one of few elementary schools in the district that has a full-time art teacher. The visual arts provide a learning environment for kids to explore and grow into learners that have necessary 21st century skills such as creativity, problem solving, perseverance, and intrinsic self-worth. The timing of this exposure is critical to early childhood development, and we all see the positive impact art has on our students. I was recently awarded the Alaska Elementary Art Teacher of the Year, and it is because my position makes it possible for me to form relationships with students and provide an environment that nourishes their creative bravery. Aquarian is a great place for kids, and it has been for many years. Thanks to dedicated teachers, the way we leverage our specialists to teach math and our teaching assistants, we are able to meet students where their needs are. For example, I'm not only an art teacher, I'm also highly qualified in middle school math and readily teach pre-algebra. Ensuring students are challenged at the right level throughout their day results in engaged students. Engagement leads to their love of lifelong learning, and these are the types of students Aquarian is proud to be sending in ASD middle schools. If you're wondering why we love teaching at Aquarian so much, it's because the trust and latitude to make independent judgments is rewarding. It makes us dedicated to our positions and accountable for our results. At Aquarian, we take seriously our role as a charter school and the responsibility that comes with it to innovate, to share our successes and learn from the successes of others in the district. We do not see ourselves as an island, but as team players in a vibrant, diverse district. Personally, I've been working closely with ASD's Visual Arts Coordinator on curriculum revisions, and I regularly collaborate with other art teachers. Do I have a luxurious art space? No. It's small, it's hot, it has one sink and minimal storage. However, it's my home away from home, and I have worked tirelessly to make it a place that students respect and that inspires and promotes creativity and dedication. This building has served our program well for 18 years, but right now it's clear that no amount of love, patches, and general maintenance is enough. Major capital repairs are sorely needed. How will I be impacted if we are able to get our capital improvements? I'll be able to return to Aquarian year after year. I will be a part of a program that positively impacts the 2,000 students that will become a part of our family over the next 20 years. People choose Aquarian for a variety of reasons. This room is full of families that are here because Aquarian is doing good things for kids. You have allowed this school to let us become who we are, and for that, we thank you. Please don't give up on us now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Caroline Storm. And Whitney, you can begin when you see the clock.
Good evening. My name is Whitney Diatri, and I'm speaking to you tonight as one of the founders of Anchorage Stream Academy and as a current member of their APC. My purpose is to weigh in on the facility issue at Aquarian. I'm a lifelong resident of West Anchorage, so I know that Aquarian is an established and highly regarded school option for families. I have many friends and neighbors in this room whose children attend the charter school. Aquarian has invested heavily in creating an amazing program that's pioneered the way, building a strong foundation of trust and belief in charter schools in Anchorage. Stream has a deep gratitude for that. When Stream was first starting out, Aquarian offered lots of resources and support as we were navigating our way through the charter approval process. Charter schools in Anchorage support each other, and I fully support Aquarian having a functioning building to house their near 400 ASD students, and that ASD as its landlord should help maintain that building. We would expect the same of our landlord at Wayland Baptist. But something you should know is that facilities are the bane of every charter school's existence. It is the reason it took Stream 2 extra years to open our doors. 3 charter schools, Stream included, are currently searching for new facilities for fear of being priced out of current locations or just the need for a better facility. The options are extremely limited in this city. Stream is currently using a religious facility, and although our landlord has been very accommodating and supportive, the space is still not ideal for our program. It limits us to 150 students. Every afternoon, teachers have to put the rooms back in a specific order, which makes it really challenging to build a strong school program and environment when you can't leave student work on the walls. What options do charter schools have? We don't have transportation, so location is critical when families are making the choice to attend a charter school. I'm sure this is a huge factor in Aquarian wanting to stay in the place that they are. This decision you have to make is really hard. It feels like comparing apples to oranges. Aquarian is the only charter school housed in an ASD facility, and thus the only charter school who even has the option to be added to a bond. I want Aquarian to have that option. I also want that option to exist for other charter schools. All the charter schools are paying close attention to this decision that the school board makes because we all want our facilities to be well maintained and affordable, and we want our money to be spent instead on the programs that all of these Aquarian teachers and parents have been speaking of. We want those charters to offer that unique school choice option that families have come to expect. It strengthens this whole district. I appreciate Alaska's structure around charter schools because charter schools are public schools and are publicly funded. We share the same kids. All charter schools are ASD, or all charter students are ASD students. So I'm urging the school board to think about charters systemically and with longevity, and especially to consider the fact that facilities are an extremely challenging element to charter schools in general. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could have Kimberly thank you, Santagata. And Carolyn, you can begin when you see the clock.
Thank you. Chair Marcette, thank you for listening to public testimony this evening. My name is Caroline Storm. I'm the APC chair of the newest charter school in the district, Anchorage Stream Academy. Stream is only one of 3 schools in the district offering a project-based learning program. I'm here to stand up for Stream and all the other charters in the district who are asking for fair, equitable treatment and consideration when it comes to their facilities. Aquarian is certainly running a formidable campaign to plead their case that they need the MOA to bond for the repairs for their building, and that they occupied for free until 2009, and now occupy at a lease rate that is radically lower than market value. So while other charters are struggling under massive lease payments or are housed in facilities that are an impediment to their program, Aquarian is able to offer additional programs and TAs in every class because of their relatively small amount that they pay in lease and maintenance fees. In 2009, documented in the ASD Memorandum number 364, Board Member Steiner voiced a concern about the level of subsidy that the lease proposal continued to give Aquarian, and that the proposed rate at the time and the bump after 3 years would not bring the rate to equivalency. He is quoted as saying, "This is fundamentally unfair compared to other charter schools." Board Member Kennedy at the time said, "The whole idea about fairness is the crux of the issue." I want to be really clear tonight that my testimony is not in opposition to Aquarian. I do believe that as their landlord, ASD and the Muni is responsible for fixing the building. What I am asking you is that as you deliberate whether to add $10 million to the bond to repair the only ASD school facility to house a charter school, that you also consider how other charters are feeling like they are not being given fair consideration. I'd just like to add that in the last 2 weeks, I have attempted to negotiate development of a new facility by the same means as Rilke and Wilkes-Barre managed to get their own facility, but due to the appropriations clause required in our lease, I have literally been told by 2 contractor developers, in this climate and with that clause, you are dead in the water. So right now, Stream Academy cannot grow their program, cannot move, and cannot fulfill our own charter numbers. We're capped at 150. We've got nowhere to go. So all I'm asking you is, while you consider adding $10 million to the bond for one charter school, that you really consider the equity in your decision for all charter schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Petra Wilm. And Kimberly, you can begin when you see the clock. Oh, sorry. What did I just go?
Good evening. Thank you for listening, board members and superintendent. I am Kimberly Santagata, an Inupiat Eskimo and mother of 4 girls, 3 that attend Polaris K-12 school. The Native Advisory Committee has expressed a desire to have our indigenous lands recognized at the beginning of all ASD functions. One of ASD's goals is to improve graduation rates. Alaska Native students traditionally have a low graduation rate, Per Ed Facts for the 2018-2019 school year, 64% compared to an overall graduation rate in the Anchorage School District of 81%. So much has been taken away from Alaska Native cultures. America and the world currently has a trend to restore some of these things. A lot of that is in recognizing the indigenous lands that functions are happening on. Some ASD functions acknowledge the fact that Anchorage is on Dena'ina land. We would like to make a policy that all functions in the ASD take time to acknowledge the Dena'ina lands as they begin. Part of getting a higher graduation rate is getting students engaged in learning. Currently, there's about 4,000 students identified as American Indian Alaska Native in the Anchorage School District. Acknowledging the indigenous lands will give these students a small part of pride. And these students who traditionally have low reading and math proficiency, as per the state assessment data that was released in October 2019 of 27 and 29% respectively. Giving them a way to feel good about their school, helping to engage, will help to engage them. ASD wants to grow wonderful and quality local leaders. Taking a minute to recognize the indigenous lands will help in growing these future leaders. Koyana for listening to me tonight.
Thank you. John Fonstad. And Petra, when you see the clock, you can begin.
Well, the mood in the room has changed, but Inlet View is great! Hello, my name is Petra Wilm. I'm the parent of 2 kids at Inlet View Elementary and the current president of the Inlet View Parent-Teacher Association. First, I want to make clear the PTA board at Inlet View Elementary is unanimously in favor of including planning funding for Inlet View Elementary on the 2020 school bond. I'm also an architect with experience working on elementary schools in all phases of design and construction in both Alaska and Oregon. Based on the proposed bond and the construction schedule, my son will be in junior high when the construction starts, and my daughter will likely have to spend one or both of her final years at Inlet View at the temporary relocate building. Neither will get to fully appreciate the new building. I'm not excited about that disruption. But the architect in me knows that I have never heard from a student at a replacement school who wished to have their old building back. I've never heard from a teacher who didn't fully appreciate the public investment. I have had many clients who wish they had made even more improvements and started planning earlier. The neighbor in me is excited to be a part of providing a modernized building for the teachers and students who spend so much of their time in the school, in the building. School bonds should do more than patch holes and apply bandages. They should send a message to anyone thinking of moving to Anchorage or thinking of leaving. Anchorage taxpayers believe in providing safe schools for your kids. We care about how and where they learn. We invest in our future. We do not put off hard decisions while we wait for the perfect economy. We show with our actions and our votes that we intend to stay in Alaska, and we want our kids and your kids to stay also. You all know, and many community members here know, that the decision to include Inlet View on this bond proposal was not arbitrary or made suddenly. Many hours of discussion and debate have occurred. Taxpayer dollars for research have been spent. And years have passed with Inlet View very nearly getting onto a school bond. Today we are talking about improvements to a school that will likely not take place for 3 more years. That's 3 more years of 250 students using an ASD building without basic safety offered by fire sprinklers, a seismic retrofit ever, or secure views to the entry by office staff. ASD's capital planning and construction department has made it clear for several years that it is time to fix these problems. They have paused at school board requests to gather more information and studied multiple options, including remodels. Finally, they've offered up the most economical long-term solution for Anchorage taxpayers. Thank you, school board members and ASD staff, for all your time and effort, often in a thankless environment. You've done your due diligence, and your bond proposal is right on track. Please stay the course.
Thank you. If I could have Irene Pearson, so that person. And John, you can begin when you see the clock.
Good evening. My name is John Fonstad, and I'm also speaking in support of Inlet View Elementary School being kept on this upcoming bond proposal. Some brief background. My wife and I have 2 kids. Our oldest is a kindergartner at Inlet View, and our youngest is in preschool. So we are looking at being a member of the Inlet View family for about the next 10 years. Our Inlet View is in high demand. It's a great school and a great location. Indeed, when we bought our house just a few years ago, we chose our neighborhood because it was in the Inlet View area. It's close to downtown, and it's a strong school. Many other families want that too. Indeed, when the school board did the study with Western Demographics, that outside consultant found that Inlet View had the highest utilization rate of any school in the district by far. Demand for Inlet View will only increase with time. As we're all aware, the municipality is planning to redevelop downtown, which will bring more families into the Inlet View neighborhood. In addition, you have to consider the new International Baccalaureate program at Inlet View. It's a great program, and I thank the board for supporting it. But that's going to probably cause more families from outside the neighborhood to try getting zone exemptions to go to Inlet View. And it will cause more families in the local neighborhood to decide to stay at Inlet View rather than going to a charter school or a private school. Work on the school is long overdue. The building is 60 years old and has had no major renovations since the library was added in the 1980s. It's scary to think that my kid is going to a school with no fire sprinklers, that hasn't had an earthquake seismic renovation in light of the last earthquake we had just about a year ago. It has portable units out back that have been sitting there for 15 years. The Inlet View project has been up for consideration for a number of years, but it keeps getting sidetracked. Initially, there were requests for further study. And last year, Inlet View was up for consideration on the bond, but then it was taken off for understandable reasons due to the earthquake. There has been enough time to study this issue, both within the district and with the use of outside consultants. It is time to stop wasting time. It is time to follow the recommendations of the district's own planning department and the outside consultants. With the board's plan to switch to a biennial bonding cycle, one of my big concerns here is what happens if Inlet View is taken off the bond this year. That means this whole project gets kicked off for another 2 years. 2 more years of my kids being in a school that is potentially very dangerous to them. 2 more years of a school that is overutilized by far more than any other school in the district. The school board should invest in the future of its neighborhood schools. Please keep Inlet View on the bond. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. And then Phil, is it Douglas? Yeah, Phil Douglas. Okay. Irene, when the clock's actually begin.
Good evening, school board and everyone who's here. My name is Irene Pearson. I grew up in Spenard. I was born here before statehood. I like to throw a little bit of history in. Lots of people here are proud to be Alaskan and Anchorage and Spenardians. I work as a substitute teacher. So every single day, literally, I never, ever don't have a day that I haven't been called. I come and see the different schools. And I'm here tonight mostly as a member of the Spenard Community Council. I'm the vice president, and Jay Stan, who's the president, he and I both discovered that we both went to schools in Spenard, and we walked to school, and I really like that. So I do not have any children, and I just support the Aquarian program and the issues that they have tonight. You've already heard them all, so I'm not going to read through them. But I think that people who don't necessarily have children are still very concerned and care a lot about what happens in schools. And Aquarian obviously has such a great community of people that are supporting it. So as the Spenard Community Council voted at our last meeting on the first Wednesday in October, the 30+ members, we have a very cool Spenard Council and great treats when you come. Some of you have been there, I've met. They all decided, it was unanimous, that the Spenard Community Council would support the efforts for Aquarian to get the support from the school board for their renovations. And now I'm hearing all these other issues too. So you guys have big jobs, but it's so important, as you all know. So thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, I would ask if there's anyone else that would like to testify. Where are we at on time? Okay. Yes, if you could state your name and spell it, please.
Hi there, Mark Butler, M-A-R-K-B-U-T-L-E-R. I'm a community organizer from the Spenard area. You've heard that tonight. I don't have children in the school district, but the woman of my life is a retired school district employee here. I'm going to give a little perspective on the community and what this school means for the community. It's obviously not a, quote, neighborhood school, as I think you referred to them, but rather it's a magnet school, but if I have the word right, but it acts like a community school. It's a big chunk of real estate, land there in Spenard, and we think it's valuable to have this school in that area. We hope that you will put the $10 million on the bond so it can be worked on. There's a very strong group of people that work on it. I mean, family members and community members that are very organized and focused on making this little chunk of Spenard work. We've had amazing renovations in Spenard, the roads, my farmer's market, business groups and so forth, and we would really like to see this school stay there and be vibrant and alive. I can't imagine a more vibrant group of parents and supporters for the school. So I will hope that you will put it on the bond. We don't want you to tear down the building and have a big empty lot there. We want a vibrant school there instead, and we think we have it. And so from a community perspective, I think it's real important to keep this school going and doing well. And I think the Aquarian Charter School is just a great program of the Anchorage School District, and I hope you will put that on the bond. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to testify? Anyone? All right, we're going to move forward then. And so what we have right now is the superintendent update.
Thank you, Madam President. In light of knowing we had lots of celebrations today and lots of feedback, I have Doreen speaking and honoring the Alaska Native Heritage Month first, and then just going to put a plug in as well for what President Marset spoke about, the strategic planning. So our Senior Director of Indian Education, Ms. Doreen Brown, who I might add is also a representative federally. So she not only represents our school district, she represents Alaska, but she is also a federal representative of Indian education. And very proud to have that honor work for ASD. Thank you.
And she makes ASD great. No.
It looks like a mouth.
There you go.
There you go.
New system. Haven't been up here in a while. Thank you for having me tonight. I just want to say happy Alaska Native American Indian Heritage Month. It is a great honor and opportunity to pay tribute and acknowledge the many contributions that Alaska Native American Indian people have made to this community and certainly to our country and actually globally as well. It is also an opportunity just to think about the diversity that we have here in Alaska, and it's a time to showcase language, tradition, ways of knowing, different worldviews. So I look forward to every month being Alaska Native American Indian Heritage Month, but I also look forward to other people so that we showcase and highlight and learn more about the students that we serve here in Anchorage. There are a variety of ways that we actually celebrate and encourage schools, community members, students, and families to honor, respect, and learn more about our Alaska Native American Indian population. We have this particular poster that's in front of you, and it's actually available for the public as well right there on the table. 101 different ways that you can honor, respect, and learn more about Alaska Natives and American Indians. We also have something for every day of November for staff and students and community members. You can contact our office if you want this as a general public member. But we have people that we highlight each and every day. We have a word of the day, and we have an action of a day. So if people are interested in that, we can give you a calendar of events and things that you can do at your school or any other community member, community place as well. The third thing that I'd like to take notice is actually November 15th is Rock Your Mocks. We actually gave you a ribbon. So if you don't have traditional moccasins or mucklucks, mine are not available. Those are just for showcase. My kids would probably really be sad if you actually took those down. If you looked across the hallway, there's many mucklucks and traditional footwear. Those are actually my children's or my own. I like to share those, and I'll break them out. I actually wore a pair today. But if you don't have those, we actually have given you a teal ribbon, and you're welcome to wear that as well, just in honor and celebration of Indigenous footwear. So thank you for the opportunity to share, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact our office, look at our website, and we have lots of resources for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do want to also share, since we have lots of folks to give you the due congratulations, that Doreen was instrumental in the receiving the grant that put the first Indigenous language full immersion program in a public school. And so thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I also wanted to thank Doreen for the books about Elizabeth Peratrovich. That it was really a wonderful, quick read and a nice overview of her life. So thank you.
And Doreen, don't we have something that we do here at the district? I know one year it was earring making, and because I look forward to those. Not that I'm any good at it, but.
So we have great news. We just hired a cultural enrichment specialist, and she actually starts next week. So we'll be rocking, not necessarily moccasins, it might be something else, rocking some community events that people can come and participate in second semester. So stay tuned, more information to come.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Madam President. And this is just another advertisement to your discussion at the start of the meeting in regard to the strategic planning community forums. But knowing that our community is well engaged, I would like to say that most of our community are well engaged with their children and their events, our band concerts, our swim meets, everything that we do in schools are well attended. And so one more meeting sometimes is too much. And so I just wanted to let everyone know the exact same format, if you will, or questions around what would make a graduate and what we want in our schools and ASD will also be on a survey. So you can participate how that fits with your family, that just making a meeting, all input is taken. So I don't know if President Marset wants to go over those dates again, but really to just share and highlight the community events. But if you miss one of those, it's really okay. You can also participate via electronically.
And again, their first one is this Thursday. All of these are from 6 to 7:30 p.m. The first one is the Service South region, and that will be held at our Golden View Middle School. Our next one will be Bartlett East Region, and that will be Tuesday, November the 12th, and that will be at Beggage Middle School. Chugiak Eagle River Region will be Wednesday, November 13th at Mirror Lake Middle School, and Diamond West Region will be Thursday, November 21st at Mears Middle School, and we look forward to seeing you guys all there.
Thank you, Madam President, and that concludes my very short report. I was thinking of you, Mr. Donnelly.
Okay, well, with that, I think we're ready for you, Ms.
I
Hildy.
move to approve the consent agenda, ASD Memorandum Number 45, Personnel Report, the October 1st, 2019 Executive Work Session and Regular Session Minutes.
Second.
Board members, please vote. And that passes with 7 yeas unanimously. Right. So at this time, we will be taking any public testimony on action items. And the action item memo was first introduced by the Vice President. If seconded by another board member, I will open the floor for public testimony. If you have signed up in advance or indicated you're interested in providing testimony, I will call you to come to the front table to speak. You have 3 minutes to talk, and you will see a timer on the front monitor now with the time remaining, and inform you of when you need to conclude. After all testimony closes, I will open the floor for board discussion, followed by the student board representative vote, before finally calling on the official vote, and the voting will be displayed to your left.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 47 and authorize the superintendent to accept a grant from the Alaska Department of Education and Early Development for Carl D. Perkins Secondary Career Technical Education federal funds in the amount of $1,135,399.
Second.
Do we have any public testimony on Memorandum 047? Hearing no public testimony, is there any board discussion? No board discussion. Could I have the student vote, please?
Yay.
Okay, could I have board members vote, please?
Your first vote.
And that Memorandum 047 passes with 7 yeas unanimously.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 27 and authorize the superintendent to accept a contract amendment from the Alaska Department of Health and Social Services for $50,000 to support obesity prevention activities for students.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on Memorandum 027? No public testimony. Is there any board discussion? Okay, Sophia?
I'd like to ask if, what are the specific goals that are going to be outlined for the $50,000?
Madam President, may I defer to staff? Here's actually Dr. Knutson will come forward, as well as Melanie Sutton, can share some information.
And I've learned a lot about this myself, so thank you.
Thank you for having us up here. I am going to defer to Melanie Sutton to be able to give you more details about the grant.
Thank you, School Board, for the opportunity to speak about this grant. The grant for the Obesity Prevention Partnership is in our 3rd year. Our first year focused on our elementary and first year was on secondary, second year was on elementary, this year is on K-12. Some of the items that will be funded by the grant will be wellness champions at several of our schools who will facilitate teams of stakeholders, which will help to take a look at some of the ways to promote nutrition, physical activity, and wellness goals that are initiated by the school and the team. We'll also be doing some professional development for our staff surrounding activities related to health and physical education. We will also be funding some equipment to enhance that education for our students.
Did I answer your question? Okay. Do any other board members have any comments? That was actually the focus on Daybreak today, so I had an opportunity to answer some questions, not as great as you did, so thank you. But definitely a project that's very worthwhile. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if there's no other board discussion, can we have the student vote, please?
Yay.
Board members, please vote. And Memorandum 027 passes unanimously with 7 yeas.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 50 and cross revisions to School Board Policy BB 9271, Code of Ethics Conduct.
Second.
Do we have any public testimony on memorandum 050? No public testimony. Do we have any board discussion? Okay. Could we have the student vote, please? Oh.
I was just going to say, this primarily is grammatical and clarifying. I don't think there's anything anybody could really call a policy change in it, but there was some vague wording that was made a little bit more strict or clear cut, and just rearranged. So.
Thank you. No other board comments? Okay, could I have a student vote, please?
Yes.
Okay, board members, please vote. And that memorandum 050 passes with 7 yeas unanimously.
I move to approve ASD Memorandum Number 48 and adopt a resolution supporting the 2020 census.
Second.
Is there any public testimony on memorandum 048? Hearing no public testimony, is there any board discussion? No board discussion. Could I have student vote, please?
Yes.
If board members would please vote. And that memorandum 048 passes unanimously with 7 yeas. So at this time, we're going to go to non-action items. Are there any non-action items that board members would like to pull? Yes, Ms. Hildy.
I'd like to pull ASD Memorandum Number 039.
Okay. Are there any other non-action memorandum that board members would like to pull? Okay, hearing none, would you like to speak to that?
Sure.
Ms. Hildy?
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Wait,
Would
I was reading this.
Would you like to speak to that, please?
Sure. I think we're just, it's non-action tonight, so we were just going to be providing some direction to the administration if we want to make any revisions. Certainly, it's not motion night.
Right.
But if the board has any discussion points on the bond or what we might like to see, I don't know. It's non-action, so we can't change it in this meeting, but we can provide guidance if we want. Even potential variations like draft A, draft B. Member Donnelly has some changes that we would have ready to vote on for the next meeting. So I like the bond how it is. I have one concern on you know how I feel about multi-year bonds. I love it. I'm talking about it all the time. It's where I want our district to go. I am concerned about doing year 2 without a bond, and even though that's 6-year capital plan issue, what we present to the public is going to be part of that bigger picture. So one consideration I'd like to give is if we do this 80 million bond for this year, and if FEMA reimburses, we don't know what they would reimburse, but let's say they reimburse 30 million, next year have a smaller bond that equates to holding the taxpayer even over the 2 years. So whatever, we don't know what that number is, but there would be something in year 2, a smaller bond, then going with the larger multi-year bond in year 3. But from a deferred maintenance point, we have over $600 million in deferred maintenance. Certainly having Inlet View on there, that if we can get that facility rebuilt, that takes off deferred maintenance. Anytime we do a large renovation, it eats away at that deferred maintenance backlog. But I'm very concerned if we don't put any deferred maintenance on this year and we wait 2 more years before we start tackling some of those. I don't think that's a good plan.
And Mr. John, well, let's, does anyone else have any comments on the deferred maintenance? Ms. Mitchell?
Well, I think I talked about this last year. I'm very, very concerned about our deferred maintenance, and reading the SEAC report, where, you know, they highlight the fact that the ASD should be investing about $80 million every year in deferred maintenance projects to keep from falling behind. According to the Facility Condition Index figures, we're projected to have schools in such bad shape in 4 to 6 years that just repairing them would cost 3/4 as much as replacing them. I think that we are being very, in terms of being stewards of the public's money, we're being not very good stewards of the public money when we don't keep the facilities, when we don't keep up with the deferred maintenance, because it turns into much larger costs down the road. So I'm incredibly concerned about the bond this year not having much deferred maintenance on it. And I guess given that we think a large part of what we are bonding for this year could be reimbursed by FEMA, I feel like it's not nearly enough. So that's my concern, just out of the starting gate here.
So, and I might ask Mr. Vikalis to come up in case the board members have questions, if you don't mind, or Tom Finisef also. Because I do have a question. On our FCI, is Inlet View the highest FCI?
Good evening. I'm Tom Benesef, Senior Director for Capital Plans and Construction. Madam President, in answer to your question, Inlet View is ranked number 8 on our current FCI.
What is our highest school on our FCI?
Our highest school is East High School.
And next, could you just kind of, like the next 7, maybe?
I could tell you what's on the bond and where they rank.
The FCI.
Okay.
So let me ask you this, is Inlet View, not Inlet View, is Abbott Loop higher on the FCI than Inlet View?
Abbott Loop is ranked at 24.
Now, not to question you, and please don't think that's what I'm doing, but I did meet with Mr. Roth, who kind of gave me, and some of those numbers that we were using was for the 6-year capital plan for last year, and so I know that some of those have changed, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We recently updated our FCIs.
Okay.
And you want to hear the top 10?
Yes.
East High School, Spring Hill Elementary School, Mears Middle School, Central Middle School, Bear Valley Elementary School, Gruning Middle School, Transportation Building, Inlet View Elementary School, Bartlett High School, and SAVE.
And are most of those because of earthquake repairs?
No,
Okay.
these don't
Outside
incorporate.
of earthquake, okay.
All the earthquake repairs on the bond are completely separate.
Okay. So my concern is that we are selecting a school, not that it's not needy and that the work needs to be done, but that we might have other schools with a higher need. So I guess I would ask, what was the determining factor in selecting Inlet View as a recommendation?
Well, for Inlet View is ranked number 8 on the FCI.
Mm-hmm.
Inlet View is also one of the 3 schools in the district that currently do not have fire suppression systems. That's Abbott Loop, Inlet View, and then East, part of it does not have a fire suppression system. That's why those are currently on the bond.
And my understanding, I just visited Abbott Loop, and they just put in very highly sensitive smoke detectors in that building. And the purpose of that was?
I'm not aware of that, but I'm sure maintenance put it in for added security.
So if I may, so they've been going through and looking at the various schools as far as the smoke alarms, et cetera. And they are upgrading them. Some of them have been in existence for quite a while. The other thing is the new fire code does require certain upgrades to certain types of systems that the district has. So I'm pretty sure that that's one of the schools that got caught up in that.
Okay, okay. So it's just information that I wanted to bring forward to the board because I don't know that we had that information in making this decision. And, you know, the board may still vote to go forward with Inlet View. Mr. Donnelly.
So we had testimony, and the board's received electronic commentary regarding Aquarian, how the roof project at Aquarian was all the way to the top of the priority list in 2015. Why is it no longer at the top of the list, since it didn't get done and it was at the top of the list in 2015, according to the testimony?
I was not here in 2015, but I do know that none of my records indicate that Aquarian's roof was at the top of the list in 2015.
Have you done an analysis of where, well, first of all, of the multiple projects that Aquarian needs, what's the highest ranked project? Is it the roof?
Aquarian has multiple problems. The roof is one of them.
Is the roof the highest ranked of these multiple issues that need addressed?
Possibly, yes.
Where does the roof rank vis-a-vis the top 10 that you just gave us?
It's probably within the top 5.
So if it would, the top 10 here excludes Aquarian because it's a charter school, right? If it was included in this group, you're saying it would probably be in the top 5.
There's projects within Aquarian's scope that it needs done, and there's where the school ranks throughout all the schools. FCI is one of those measures, the Facility Conditions Index that we use. Also, the Educational Adequacy Index. Currently, Aquarian ranks number 30 on the FCI out of all the schools.
But that's if you mold everything together. If you break out individual needs, individual project needs, you're saying that the roof would break into the top 5 on the needs list?
Just taking Aquarian out of all Aquarian's projects, the roof would be in the top 5.
Except that's not how we do that in the capital improvement. You take all the FCI needs and you calculate it, and it's those that come up with the top FCI. We don't break it down by the roof is higher than this or whatever. It's a computation, and then it's the total FCI score, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Ms. Mitchell?
Do we have any numbers attached to these top 10 items, the top 10 schools?
In terms of cost?
Yeah.
We do have numbers from the 2018 Facilities Assessment Report, which lists in total $8.9 million in repairs needed.
8.9 million in total across these 10 projects?
No, I think you referred to just one school, right? The 8.9?
This is just Aquarian.
Oh, okay. I was asking about the top 10 that you rattled off to us. East, Spring Hill Elementary, Mears Central, Bear Valley, those.
It has a significant amount of systems. It's not really broken down and prioritized within those systems. I mean, you can look at it in terms of a cost value to say which might be the most important, but you know, if you got a roof and an HVAC system that are relatively the same amount in cost, what's more important, the roof or the HVAC system? So we don't prioritize them within the overall projects.
Ms.
So-
Hildy?
I think Member Mitchell's just asking for if she's had a concern about deferred maintenance, so moving those top 10 FCI or moving it on to this year bond. I think she's looking for a number. If you were going to increase this year's bond to address some of that deferred maintenance, what does that number maybe look like? Either those top 10 FCI or what you plan further, in year 3 on the CIP. Maybe that's another way.
So
place
if
to
I
find
could,
it.
help in answering that question. So if a determination is made to go ahead and start putting these on the CIP and or the bond, then the next step is they're going to have to go through and they're going to have to look at all these different systems. They're going to have to come up with a cost estimate. And so that would be during the planning phase. And obviously engineering support would be requested to assist in that so that they can get a rough order of magnitude. Once they get a rough order of magnitude, then they can better define what the costs are going to be for these. Right now, it's really, this particular roof is X number of square feet, and a typical square foot roof of that type costs about this. But that's without going in and looking at what other things have to be done to that roof. For example, seismic upgrades and everything else. So at this point in time, yes, the FCI shows the priority, but there has not been specific dollar amounts assigned to it other than very, very rough estimates. Very, very rough estimates.
So it also, when we break down the costs, we look at construction costs. That differs from what the actual project cost will be. So we have to take all that construction cost together and then find out what the project cost will be.
Ms. Hildy? Mm-hmm.
Just a follow-up, I think perhaps what would be helpful to see is a bond or a CIP adjustment where year 3 gets a little bit moved over to year 1. Some of those projects you've already identified that are deferred maintenance in year 3 on this CIP. There are some deferred maintenance on year 3, right? And is there a reason not to move them up sooner, given the constraints of construction and wanting to stabilize? Who's available to do the work? I know those are considerations as well, but what's possible year 3 deferred maintenance to move up to year 1? I think that's something I'd like to consider.
Well, typically when we're looking at renovating or renewing a school, we want to take all of it in its entirety because of the opportunity cost from doing it all at once. And in some cases, like we have now, we have roofs that need to be fixed across the district. So we're focusing on roofs to protect that envelope.
So I'm going to ask one question again, which I didn't feel like I got an answer to. Why was Inlet View selected over the others? What was the reasoning? I mean, just help me understand why this school is the one that was recommended to us.
Madam President, I can share that. Inlet View was on the bond already and on the CIP list at the top, and was taken off last year due to the considerations for the earthquake, things like that. So knowing that they had actually been considered prior to the hiatus on school bond debt reimbursement. So literally they've been pushed back every year. It was my decision. I saw 2022 and I said, we have all these other things. That would mean that the school would be put off. If you passed a planning bond in 2022, you would wait, you wouldn't even start building to 2024 possibly. So then I thought, well, here's another 4 years added. It was literally your superintendent who said, there are 250 kids and a building made for 150. The neighborhood houses 300. The recommendation from our outside source, which was Western Demographics, said you need to consider this because you're going to have growth downtown. I asked to put it on there simply because I was like, you know what, we need to get the ball rolling, and it's planning. It's not construction. It's just planning. So not even considering like, remodel, tear down, rebuild. I didn't think about that. I just said, you know what? I don't think bond debt reimbursement is coming back. So as a community, I said, let's get started. And I thought that Inlet View can help us sell this bond. similar to how others have said, we're community members, we want to sell. So these guys didn't have anything to do with that. It was me. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to add that not only Abbott Loop and Inlet View have been on the bond for the past 5 years. Also, Inlet View is ranked number 8 over Abbott Loop, which is ranked number 24 on our FCI listing. So it definitely needs some more love.
However, the critical units of why they were moved up was the board's discussion on fire suppression. Because there was a concern of safety. And we shared over and over, for those of you in the public, fire suppression, just like a ranking on the earthquake of a 4, fire alarms save people. Fire suppression, water, saves buildings. Just like when we want to move our seismic upgrades to 6, we want to save our buildings. Our buildings save people's lives, just so you know. That's what they're designed to do. Fire suppression. It will also add to the safety, but the board at the time wanted East High, get fire suppression done. Wanted, get on with Abbott Loop. We don't want any more buildings without fire suppression. That's an old code that we should renew. The third person who had it, or the third school, was at Inlet View. So that's why those got moved up in that CIP early on, and then kept getting pushed.
That's your question. Yeah. Ms. Mitchell.
So I guess, again, that is exactly what I thought, and I think that's why there might be some confusion, that Inlet View and Abbott Loop were at the top, and now it looks like it's number 8. And again, just, the SEAC report confirmed a lot of what I remembered feeling last year, and I'm thinking now as well. I mean, they say here there's an expectation that most of the funds that are being slotted for this year's bond will eventually be reimbursed by FEMA. We have incredibly low interest rates right now, and we have some a severe backlog of capital, just maintaining our assets and trying to keep them from costing us more down the road, and keeping them comfortable for our students, and keeping that learning environment. So I'm not questioning having Inlet View on there. I guess I'm just surprised that it's down so low, and as President Marcette was saying, and it was the number 1 choice to put on. I would favor including more, and I also am intrigued by the idea that the Capital Improvement SEAC, what does it stand for? Advisory Committee put out there that the way that schools are funded in the state is the BSA covers operating. Then we have our transportation funds, and the way that the state set up the capital was to have the districts bond. And it is, in my opinion, if the intent was originally, right now we have no matching going on, but if the state was going to cover 70% of these costs, I love this proposal that they're putting out there. Let's propose to the state government that they, instead of bonding, which taxpayers really are irritated by, it's recurring. We know what's going on. It's recurring costs every year, and when a bond isn't passed, then we fall farther behind. And we're at 2/3 of our total outstanding indebtedness that we had 10 years ago. So we're falling farther behind. So, I don't know that we'll be able to change the system in this current climate in particular, but I think it's our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we start catching up on some of these buildings like Abbott Loop and Inlet View that have been pushed off. And I didn't even remember Spring Hill being on the list last year, but I do remember East, and if these other schools need it too, let's start getting it done.
Madam President, to Member Mitchell, that is great. And you had mentioned the 80 million, and just in reference to the total capital assets of our school district, it's over 2 billion. So 80 million over 2 years is about 2% of what you would put in. So if you think about your own home ownership, it's not very much money to put in. And I do want to clarify, the state didn't ask districts to bond, because I wish districts could bond. We're not independent. Boroughs and municipalities can bond. We have no bonding authority. So just let you know, we just have to ask for it.
Ms. Hilding?
Sometimes we have such good information in the memo and we don't always get to share it. And I just think, in the vein of understanding where we are in our bond debt reimbursement, I just want to highlight That right now it says we have a little over 500 million of outstanding bonds, but that's down 250 million from this same time 10 years ago. So we've been under bonding, right? So let's say about 50 million bond a year holds your taxes even, your property tax, just saying if that's the number. If you do 45 over years, all those little numbers add up. And so we've been seeing that. We've been paying off a lot. And also we've talked a little bit about when you sell bonds and some of the excellent rates that we've been getting on our bond sales to recapture a lot, to get a better deal on the bond sales, right? Because you bond, but you don't sell it for a couple of years down the road. So those are very good things that have happened. But when we do preventative maintenance, we are saving taxpayers money. I've heard 6 times the investment, right? If we put $100 into a building now, if we don't do it, it's going to cost $600 down the road. So there's a savings of 6 times when we do preventative maintenance. I hope that we can share that when we go out to the community, because I know they hear, oh, I don't want a new school, or that we can't do that in this climate. I would argue that we can't afford not to do it. It is a better use of taxpayer money. We can wipe out deferred maintenance right then. We have more resources to focus. When we do a larger project, instead of a bunch of little projects spread out that kind of make a lot of people happy, if we make those harder decisions and really say we're going to focus here, we get to put resources into that one project instead of spreading people thinner. That saves taxpayers money as well. If we're going to dig out of this 800 or 600 plus million deferred maintenance, we're going to have to start yes, bonding adequately for our 2 billion facilities, but also committing to where are we going to have buildings? Are we going to invest in more buildings, or are we going to look at our capacity and say, can we move people around? Can we fit people in different places? Adding to that backlog, I don't think is a reasonable thing we could do right now.
Was that I want to talk? Oh, okay. Ms. Michaelis.
Since I've been on the board, since 2015, back then our deferred maintenance was in the $400 million-ish range, and now we're pushing up over $600 million. So clearly we are not making any headway on this list. Is there a rough annual, I can say 50 million a year, but what we can anticipate every year as going up in a deferred maintenance, that some stuff rolls off, some rolls on, but do we have any sort of an estimate of what that is?
So according to the national standards for facility investment, you should take 4% of your current replacement value, which in our case is $2 billion. That's $80 million. That is a sustainable rate for capital investment annually.
Thank you.
Mr. Donnelly.
So on page 4 of the analysis, the bond analysis, towards the middle of the page, the report indicates that even at the proposed amount of about 79 million for this bond package for the first year, because of the decreased value of new bonds versus old bonds that had retirement, the increase to property taxes would be about 10.72%. The increase cost to taxpayers is actually going up because we're replacing new bonds, old bonds with new bonds. That's how I read that paragraph anyhow. So we don't have, if we pile more onto it, it's not going to just break out even. It's going to have an escalating impact on property taxes. The second thing I wanted to talk is a whole different subject, and that's I'm really concerned about the delay in the school security projects. We don't have the prioritized security projects are out in year 3. They're about $9 million. And the big picture of things, once we address the earthquake immediate crisis that we're faced with, I really place a high value on protecting our kids and hardening our elementary schools and making sure that we've done everything we can to protect our children from any exterior threats. I absolutely recognize the value of deferred maintenance, but I'm also really concerned about us not proceeding with those security projects in the most expedited means possible.
Ms. Mitchell.
So we had a lot of those security projects on last year, and I do agree with Member Donnelly that that is important. What would you guys say would be the next batch of really high priority? I mean, you proposed with your document that you distributed. I don't know if these gentlemen have seen that, but I mean, what you're proposing does make sense to me, that we need to prioritize the security things as well.
So I guess what would the 9 million, what would that include?
So last year, 2019 bond, the board approved $12.6 million for prioritized security projects. We've identified quite a few, I think at this point 16, that will take place over the next 2 years. That's on top of the earthquake repairs. So with the earthquake repairs and those security projects, even if we move security projects forward, we're still just not going to be able to get to them. We've got our hands full at this point.
If I may, Madam President, so what the district did is they went through a pretty substantial process of trying to determine where the security needs were needed the most. And that's why you saw that amount that was put on for the last year's bond. Those were the high priority, based on an awful lot of factors and a lot of folks going in and really doing an evaluation as to the neighborhood, the type of crimes against the buildings that we've had in those particular areas, those schools, the nature of the demographics. There's all kinds of things that they put into the queue, and that's how they prioritize those schools. So those were the ones that were to the top of the priority list that you funded, got funded through the bonding. They also have the next tier down, which would be the next level to go, and then they have a bottom tier, which would be the last level to go. So it's not a matter of not being prioritized. They are prioritized. It's just a matter of, number one, with the earthquake and everything else, how much is enough, or how much will the taxpayer basically be willing to bear? Security is extremely important. There's no argument there. But so is trying to get these buildings back into shape as a result of the earthquake. So there's an awful lot of demands, and unfortunately, the resources, aren't necessarily there to take care of all of them at the same time. So that's why they prioritized those particular security projects, sir.
And many of those earthquake recovery projects include those secure vestibules, like Gruning and Eagle River Elementary School are both getting new secure vestibules as part of the earthquake recovery projects.
Mr. Holloman?
I would also say that anytime we're doing something to eliminate relocatables, that's a huge security upgrade. That if you've got relocatables, a secure vestibule doesn't mean anything to the people that are out in those areas and everything. So I think security pops up in a lot of places. We may not be calling it that, but it's there. And the design of our newer schools is just inherently more secure, easier to police, easier to put eyes on than any of our older buildings have been. Having taught in several different buildings at different stages, you just realize it when you're walking the hall that this was something people thought about. This is something architects designed into our newer structures, is the ability to be able to see and protect and everything in a way that you just can't match with some of the older buildings.
Ms. Hildy?
So I'm looking at the 6-year capital improvement plan, year 1 and year 2, anticipated debt retirement. So that's for those 2 years, it says it's about $112 million, 54 retired in year 1, 57. If over those 2 years we bonded at $112 million, would there be maybe a buck or two, but would there be a property tax increase, or would it be holding even? Would we be?
defer that to Jim. It's never an exact science
Right, just
because
about,
it's the
pretty
amount
close,
that
yeah.
you sell and what rate and how much, like Member Donnelly said about how much is the reimbursement. But I'm going to give Jim a chance to give a shot at that, knowing, I mean, the biggest picture is you can see how complex this is. Yeah.
But just
So,
for clarification, are those numbers based on that?
I'll let you take it over, Jim. And do you have what she's looking at, Jim? And
I
you wanna
do.
tell them okay.
I didn't see the 112 million, but at 120, I'm sorry, the difference between what was proposed, which is 79.78, and 112 million, the difference per $100,000 would be.
She took the 2 years retirement of year one of 57 and the 50-some the second year of retirement.
Oh,
yeah.
I do have those.
My hope is that it stays pretty, I don't want to under bond. I'd rather go $5 over than under bond.
Oh, the 112 million, adding FY 20 and 21's payoff. Yeah, that's quite a bit more, well over $100 per 100K that if you wanted to close that gap between
Over
about
2
80
years? What?
Oh, I'm sorry. Over 2 years,
Yeah.
it would pretty much zero out.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about. The first year 57
Right.
retirement, second year 54 or
It
something.
would zero out over 2
Yeah,
years.
or be pretty close depending on bond
Pretty close.
sales. Nothing, it could be $40 or something, I don't know. But my concern is that we don't under bond. Whatever we come up with for this bond this year, looking at what we do next year and year 3 going on, we are not in a position to under bond to maintain our facilities. So for year 1, year 2, I would like it to average out, whether you do a big one this year or you put a little bit, wait to see what kind of bond debt reimbursement, or not FEMA reimbursement we get, and then adjust year 2, and then go out year 3 with a multi-year bond.
And Madam President, might I add that FEMA is not an exact science about their dates of when they would return. So if you wanted to not under bond, the 2 years bond debt retirement would equal to how much in new debt? That's the question. Is it to give us an approximate number? I think that's what Member Hildy wanted. For
2
this
years,
yeah.
2 years payoff is equal to about $324 per 100,000.
So what would the amount of the bond be that we could sell to keep that even is the thing. So we have 80 million this year and we're not bonding next year.
It would be another 40.
Another 40 million, which her estimate was 120 or so. So about 120 million. Yeah.
So as a recommendation, I'm just going to advocate that, and this is the reason I brought Inlet View up, because Inlet View and Abbott Loop have both been pushed off, and I'd like to see both of them on the bond for design money this year. The other thing that I am going to recommend is that we do bond for Aquarium, but it be a separate package. Yes, Mr. Donnelly.
Yeah, I appreciate the raising of the idea of a separate package. I'd been thinking about that myself. I would think the fair way to do that would be have the earthquake projects be a separate part, a separate bond, because there's, I think, unanimous community support for that, other than some concerns about one of the projects on that list. And then have other proposals be in a separate bond package, because anything that's included with the earthquake bonds it's going to be a bias. I mean, it's going to stand out as being something different, and I think the earthquake stuff stands together very, very distinctly, and I've had some people call me and refer to including just 1 or 2 more things with the earthquake as a poison pill. There would be a lot of public opposition to a bond like that, where if it was just the earthquake passed through, then let people argue about the other additional things.
Ms. Bellamy?
So I absolutely agree with adding Aquarian to the bond. And I guess I have to think about, I don't have to think about it really, because it seems to me that the support for education in Anchorage has to be for all children, for all schools. And we just have to figure, to separate the bond, to me is I don't know, it just feels a little bit like not equitable, not really fair, and that we're choosing some of our kids, some of our programs over others. And if we're doing a bond, we just need to do a bond and put in it what we believe is the best for our children. And I know we've got to be fiscally responsible. I know all of that, and I don't have all the answers to that, but I do know that when I think of ASD, I think of ASD as one bond. You know, if you know, I agree that the security is, we got to harden our schools. I agree with that. I don't disagree with anything that's been said tonight, except for a separate bond. And I do know that there are people who will, I mean, I don't know that we can make a decision that's going to satisfy every taxpayer in Anchorage, but I think we have to make our decision based on what we believe is going to serve our kids, our staff, and our communities. So I do not agree with a separate bond. I do agree with putting Aquarian on the bond.
So here's what I would say in response to that, Mrs. Bellamy.
sorry.
This is what I would say, I mean, why I'm
sure.
thinking of this, is because we have 2 schools that are displaced right now. If our earthquake bond did not pass, that means that we still have middle schoolers going to a high school, which is not an optimal situation. It's very important that our earthquake bond pass, and I can't risk, I feel like anyway, I can't risk those 2 schools by adding things to that might not support that, because I think right now our priority is getting those schools back and up running that are displaced. We have students from Eagle River Elementary that are going to 3 different schools now. I think that has to be our priority, and so in doing this, I was looking at this as being able to put our earthquake, because that, to me, that's number 1 right now, those 2 schools, getting them back to where they need to be. And the other one is still being able to include the bond for Aquarian, but to put it on a separate package. And so that was my thought process.
And Madam Chair, I'm sorry. That's okay. I do appreciate that, and I do absolutely, I follow your logic. But again, I just think that there's no guarantee that the bond, either one, is going to pass. There's none.
Nope.
And so I don't know, when we divide ourselves or divide our priorities, it just seems to me that the potential for either to pass is diminished. So I would just encourage the board to figure out, I mean, we just maybe just need to think of other options. I've heard it all. I mean, don't put, it's not because of they're a charter school. I really do believe that, because I think we all understand that these are all ASD kids. And I know that they're limited resources, but I just think that if we keep a complete package, that the chances of it passing would increase rather than decrease, and that we would, most importantly, we would be serving all of our kids.
Mr. Holman.
I did want to ask, do we have other schools? I'm starting to feel like we're just a whole bunch of roofs in the Anchorage School District. But do we have other schools that are actually leaking into the envelope in any of our other buildings outside of Aquarian at this time?
Yes,
Okay.
but they're all addressed very quickly by our maintenance staff.
I'm sorry, by our,
They're all addressed very quickly by our maintenance staff.
okay. So we don't have any others that structurally can't be repaired without a major overhaul, I guess, is what I'm asking. My understanding is a situation at Aquarian, we can't really fix with a minor repair or anything less than a capital improvement, but
Well, we can fix it to keep it moving. Part of the issue is it requires $8.9 million in repairs, and the building's only valued at $8.6 million. So we can continue to put money into it, but we're still not going to have a new building.
okay. But it wouldn't take that much money to just repair the roof at Aquarian.
No.
That's a complete bond package. My concern is that it's a wood frame building that's leaking to the inside. And in the move to a 2-year bond, if we don't address it in this coming package, we are pushing a repair off. And my understanding is we can't do simple repairs within the scope of the maintenance department to stop it from leaking, but it needs a major rework in order to be made waterproof. Would that be a correct assessment?
It can be repaired and patched as it is. Maintenance has been doing that for the past 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Since 2016, they've done 767 work orders on Aquarian and invested $250,000 on maintaining it.
Okay, but it does still leak. I mean, so
we have many schools that leak.
Yeah. Although, let me back up. I mean, I realize a homeowner's roof is a different thing, but there are times when you can develop a leak, you can go fix it, and it's fixed, and you can expect it to last for a very long time. There are other times when you have underlying problems where you might be able to patch it and get through the winter or something like that, but it's going to continue to recur. And my feeling is with Aquarian that anything we do to their roof is temporary. It's a short-term fix and not something that we can expect to get 5 years or 10 years or certainly 20 years out of. We have to fix underlying problems in order to have a secure roof on that building. And I'm and so what I'm really asking is, do we have other buildings in the district that are in that same shape, that they're leaking, and what we would call a repair that we would get from our maintenance department would only be, again, a short-term fix? And I know it's happened. I mean, it does happen. We've got a lot of roof space.
Yes, you'll see those on the capital improvement plan. All those roofs.
Right. Yeah. I'm asking, how many others leak right now that we don't think we can fix with the maintenance department?
What he's saying is they're already on year 3 bond. They're listed. The ones listed are there.
Okay.
Yeah. Those are the ones that they continue to fix but need a roof.
And year 5.
Okay. So I do think because it is leaking into the envelope of a wood frame building, it's something the board has to think about. And dropping back, there is an equity issue that unfortunately the board's never discussed. Charters to some degree are meant to be easy to start, easy to get off the ground, and in some ways cheap to fail. They're experiments that are, we don't build a new building every time we have a charter school start up because we do understand that they may or they may not make it. What the board has never really addressed is once we have charters that become an institution to speak of, when do we really treat them like that? And do we expect them just to find their own building indefinitely, which does come at a higher cost, which does create issues? When do we actually bring them into the more equitable situation that that our neighborhood schools enjoy, and that charters that are fortunate enough to find a home inside of an ASD building enjoy. And I think that's a question. Obviously, we're going to be consumed with the issue of exactly what goes on this bond in the coming month, but some board needs to address this to give charter schools an outlook, to have a plan, so that we don't simply wind up at a spot again where we've got kind of a tough decision to make, but no real historical precedent or plan or promise in it. So I also think that we have to look very hard at putting Aquarian on this bond and get that fixed, just because of the nature of the kinds of leaks and everything that it's getting, and the heat system.
Mr. Donnelly?
Thank you, Madam President. I agree with Member Holloman, and I really appreciate his reference to the big picture here. There is a very serious equity question. We're faced with kind of an emergency situation there. And what is the cost for the roof only at Aquarian? Because I think there's a strong case that can be made that we really got to prioritize roofs. We need boilers that work too, but if the roofs fail, then we lose our investment. We really endanger our property investment. So I'm a big
I don't
fan
want to
of.
answer for you, but I think it's about $3 million.
It's about 2.8 million.
Yeah, it's just shy of 3.
2.8?
Yeah.
We're starting to get to a real doable number there.
I think it was Ms. Mitchell and then Ms. Hildy.
Again, I'm just trying to understand the whole thing. In the SEAC memo, they said most of the funds will eventually be reimbursed by FEMA, but from the last meeting, I have a note here that says FEMA may reimburse up to $42 million. I guess it's just somewhere between the one number and the other. We don't really know.
So, if I may, Madam President, so it's yet to be determined. As you know, we're going through the process and going back and forth with FEMA as to making sure that we all agree on what the damages are. Because if they agree that those damages are valid damages, then that basically could allow us to get reimbursement for that amount. And that amount would be shared 25% from the state, 75% from the federal government. So both entities, have skin in the game here. So that's why they're making sure that they agree with the damages. The next step is to put a cost to those damages, a cost that FEMA would agree to. Once we do that, then we also have to figure out what can the district afford in its operating budget. And I say that from the standpoint is that it depends on how much we receive from FEMA. We would have to have the same amount in earthquake insurance. And so the question is, how much can the district afford as a direct hit to your operating budget for the life of those buildings? And they could be 20, 30 years that you'd be paying. I will say that we tried to get at least some type of order of magnitude as to what that could be. And we did that by using the 15 PAR schools that we had evaluated by an A&E firms. And with that dollar amount, we went to the broker. The broker went out to numerous carriers. In fact, there was about 17 carriers. 9 right up top said, absolutely not, we will not cover. We will not insure. 3 responded and said, we will, but the most amount that we would give you is a $5 million. There was one carrier that said, we'll go ahead and insure you for $5 million. And then 2 other carriers came in and said, okay, we'll insure excess insurance for an additional $5 million. And that would be 2.5 apiece. So for a total of $10 million. So one would ask, well, what does that $10 million cost? So the quote that we were given was about $1.3 million annually for $10 million. So if we were to receive 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 million, whatever the amount is that we finally agree upon, that the district determines that they want to go forward and try to get public assistance money for, then you're going to have to sit down and have the carriers give us quotes as to what that's going to cost you over the long term. So that's kind of how that works. And like I say, we didn't have any idea as to what those costs could be. That's why we floated those 15 schools, because we had some degree of assurity that at least a rough order of magnitude was going to be X. And we also had it very detailed by the engineering reports as to what the damage was. And that's what they went by. So.
And Madam President, this isn't just in Alaska with earthquakes. They're looking at earthquakes. They're looking at overall school safety. They're looking at flooding. Over the last recent years, when cities and towns and counties lose their investments in schools, it's highly expensive. So insurance companies are wise to that. It's not just in Alaska. We did, and I don't know if they gave an answer, but we do have, we're working the legislative angle to maybe get a waiver from that. No guarantees. They didn't even, they almost, we put the thought in their brain, even though they didn't think that maybe that would ever fly. But what we're saying is this doesn't work out economically for us to receive this assistance. We're a school district, we receive it. What if we could receive 100% just from our state in their capital, and just funding schools and taking care of schools? Because otherwise, a good majority would come out of operations. And so, again, a complex issue. Expert people working on it. It's just really difficult to guarantee. That's why we left that out there. It's still a possibility, but we're working on those different angles to make 30 million be 30 million and not 30 million costing that much money and paid for itself in 5 to 10 years in operational costs.
Madam Superintendent, do you mind if I add a little bit to that? Thank you. So really what that really means is that if you look at all the damages that we possibly could collect, it could get up there to around $90 million if you look at all the schools. So there's 3 avenues that we have available to us to try to figure out what's the best mix and how can we protect the taxpayers and still be able to go ahead and get these schools back up to speed. So one of them, of course, is to go in for the public assistance. But the strings to that may make it not the best option because of the obtain and maintain requirement for insurance. Okay, so that's one. Or you may decide we'll go ahead and get X number of dollars and then we'll go and proceed to other methods that's out there. So the second method that we're exploring and have met with the insurance director for the state, the insurance director cannot waive. The only entity that can waive the obtain and maintain is FEMA. But the insurance director, based on the availability of insurance available to the district, or the lack thereof, based on what the cost is, and based on what they'll actually cover for the district's needs. For example, $10 million, that really doesn't do a whole bunch for the district in an earthquake, okay? Especially like what we had. And then the third avenue that we're exploring, even though it's a long shot and the burden of proof is very, very high, is that there is a clause that's in the public assistance regulations that does allow for mitigation to be used in lieu of the obtain and maintain insurance. So in other words, if we can go in and show that as a result of putting mitigation dollars into this particular school and upgrading the school so that if we have a like event, we would not basically succumb to the same type of damage, they may allow that. But again, it's a long shot because you have all of these things that you basically have to research, not the least of which is the availability of insurance. So that's a key factor that you have to use in that. So we're exploring all 3 of those avenues right now. And it's too premature to say what's going to be the best answer. It might be a combination of 2 or 3 of those things if we can make it work. But those are all things that we have to look at. But the key thing right now is to get FEMA to agree to what we think the costs of those damages are. And that's why we're working daily with them right now and going through all of these damage lists. So,
I think Ms. Hildy was next, Mr. Donnelly.
I just wanted to clarify, we went through the whole Aquarian ad hoc committee process, and one of the things I said at the beginning of it was that if there was any possibility of putting my support for it going on the bond, there would have to be something addressing what happens this winter, some sort of agreement, which we know the administration has been working to get for the last year and a half, which is why we had the committee in the first place, because there wasn't progress made on that. Absent knowing who's paying for what this winter, or some sort of agreement about the bond doesn't fix this winter. So that's kind of this big unanswered question, and I don't understand how we can confidently say something should be on the bond if we don't have a full picture of what the plan is for the facility. So I just hope the board will keep that in mind. Member Donnelly mentioned it being an emergency. It's certainly very serious, as it is in some of our other schools as well. But 10 years ago, we kind of went through the exact same process, and the board did have this discussion. And I think one person gave some public testimony on that, and I don't believe he was at the committee meeting, but there was talk about the equity issue of investing in a landlord. They were like, well, you hadn't paid rent for a lot of years. If you'd been paying rent, then fixing a boiler kind of becomes a no-brainer. You paid rent, you do that, even up to 2015 before the state law changed. So that was something that was addressed in 2009, and a request, given the sweat equity that Aquarian APC did put into, I mean, they did a lot of great investments into the building, and that was captured in that rent calculation that they came up with in 2009. And then again in 2012, when the charter renewal came up, that that memorandum of it wasn't a memorandum of understanding, but the memo, the board memo was referenced in their 2012 charter renewal. But in 2009, that discussion came up, was that there was about 10 years maybe left in this facility. So it's not, and the boilers came up, and so none of that's a surprise. It just hasn't been addressed, but certainly a lot of notice. But it was also 4 superintendents ago. So that we're here is a different issue, and we want to do best by the students and find a good solution, but just to make sure we have all the correct information.
Mr. Donnelly?
Back to the FEMA issue. There's been a lot of natural disasters that FEMA's been deeply, invested in over the past few years. Do we have any examples of any exemptions being given by special congressional act to some of the requirements that are making your job so tough?
No, we don't. And the other thing is, we don't have any examples of where mitigation in lieu of obtain and maintain was ever exercised. But it is clearly written in there that that's an option. But we have no case examples where it was ever approved. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to pursue it. So, and that's what we're doing. We're going those 3 routes, just like I explained. But it will take time to get there.
Any other board comments? Ms. Mitchell?
Well, I guess I also wonder where we stand on the 1 year versus 2 years. So Member Hildy is talking about doing a big bond this year and then having the possibility of maybe doing something smaller next year, 40 million or so. Do we have, I mean, we talked about going to 2 years, and obviously a transition is tricky, and it also is risky if we do agree with the muni that we'll do every 2 years and they'll do the off years, and then we have a bond that doesn't pass, how does that all look? So do we, as a board, have kind of agreement to where we're going with that, or?
Ms. Hildy?
I would say I don't share the concern on the off year, on year. This is a really common thing in other municipalities and cities around the country. It's been done for 25 years at least. Some variations, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, even spanning a time of 10 year I've seen. So I don't know that it, I don't know that it has to match the municipality. We're going to do a school bond, and we're going to say these are the needs of our schools, and we're going to communicate that to our community. That doesn't change depending on what the municipality decides to bond. But as we get better communication on what we're doing, I think that our community will start to see the value in multi-year bonding.
Yeah, and as you know, I really do support that. So is your thought, if I think the bond will pass this year, particularly with all of the earthquake, even if it's a big bond, explaining that, you know, a big chunk of that is earthquake repairs. If for some reason it wouldn't pass, is your thought, well, then we just go back next year?
I mean, that would be up to the board for next year, whoever's on the board, as it is every year, really. It's up for, you know, new consideration. Our needs are still going to be there. And like I mentioned, I am concerned about under bonding for year 2, not putting something in. I do not want over year 1, year 2 for us to be under bonding in any way. So however we decide to do that, we have so much deferred maintenance, we at least need to hold even, and then present a multi-year bond in year 3 with hopefully time to prepare the community for the benefits of it.
And I think my thoughts on that would be that I do believe that our bond should be increased this year. But I don't necessarily agree with putting something on the bond for the next year. I would increase it this year and then hold true to that every other year, starting with making our bond larger this year, and then with the caveat that we wouldn't bond next year, would be my thoughts on that. Ms. Michaelis.
So what would be a price range, for lack of better terms, that you would consider for this year that you think would pass inside of the community, knowing it is the first year of a larger than retired, you know, bond proposal?
I think we have to look at what our bond debt for the next 2 years. I wouldn't say over 100 million, but I would say right underneath that.
So as we discussed, that would be under bonding. So I'm not willing to support under bonding. We have 600 million deferred maintenance. So whatever we do, if it's, you know, how we have it kind of pretty close with some adjustments this year, and then the difference for next year, I would be willing to support that. But digging a deeper hole is not a good plan for our long-term stability.
But we also have to look at what the public will support. Ms. Michaelis.
You guys know that I always kind of wait till the end of a conversation and then kind of work on my thoughts. In the past, we have heard where, on average, we've been doing between 50, 55 million-ish per year, and that's kind of, in a way, at the cap of what some of our project managers, you know, in terms of a load, can handle to, you know, process every year. With a larger bond, be it 80 or 100, whatever it might be, do you anticipate having to hire extra staff to handle all of those projects? And if so, where might those funds come from? Does it come from bonds, or does it come from, you know, the operating budget?
So yes, I'm going to be, if the 2020 bond passes, yes, I'll need to hire additional folks, and that comes out of prorate from the bonds.
Okay. All right. So the 2014 statute change that affected all of the charter schools, one of the things that it failed to address was capital maintenance. That was not something that the board necessarily failed to address, but the state rewrite of the law failed to address. And that's part of what's gotten this into this situation. But it's not that the conversations haven't been had with the administration and previous Aquarian APCs up to their current one. It is something that does need to be talked about and discussed, and equity across all of our district, you know, needs to be discussed. And I have no doubt that we all support Aquarian and we support their program, the amazing things that they are doing, and that we do honestly believe that they are our children. But there are a lot of disparities between what they have and what our other schools do not have. If I were to try and take, and I've asked this of finance, but I haven't been able to get an answer because I kind of only just asked today, what a similar apples to apples kind of a comparison might be. If you were to take and run, you know, a neighborhood school through the charter school, you know, formula. So school A, a neighborhood school, has 400 kids, it's comparable size, and you run it through. What should 96% of their budget be to their individual school? What are they actually getting? Because I don't believe it's anywhere near 96%, because it can't be, because of all of the needs in our district. There is an inequity in that, in the way that our neighborhood schools are staffed and funded, and the way charter schools are funded and get to make their own self-determinations, which is awesome as a charter school. But, you know, building is part of it. I can think of at least 3 dozen schools off the top of my mind all over town that would love to have TAs in every single art room or in every single classroom, that would love to have a full-time art teacher because they have an art teacher that bounces between 3 schools. And when we're looking at a $30 million shortfall, that might get even less. And so when I'm looking at equity, I'm looking not just about one school in one particular situation that I agree, it is a crappy situation that we're having to address this in this way. And we do want to do right by everybody, but we have an entire district to do right by. And for every person that I talk to that is for Aquarian on the bond, I can, come up with, 1 or more that are, adamantly against it. For everybody that I can talk to about greening being on the bond in the way that it is, I can talk to one that, is adamantly against it. I don't see that, necessarily changing. This is the way our, community is kind of divided in a lot of this way right now. It is going to be up to us as a board on what we believe is the right package or packages, however we choose to go forward, that we believe is going to have the broadest impact to get all of our schools, back, in a safe and operating condition. Yes, they're safe, but you know what I mean. To the point of Eagle River, thank you for bringing that up. I have 2 schools that are not where they should be right now, and the stress that it is putting on the community is immense. I don't want to put anything on this bond that is going to jeopardize that. That community has been in chaos for the last year. And I'm going to, I'm only going to be able to support so much in a bond, but I do have to look at the equity across the entire district, not just a struggle that maybe one school is having because of a state statute that got in the way. I think we should look at maybe working with the state to fix that. There are other ways we can do things. I agree with Member Hildy. We need to address what's going to happen over the next year. If there is a catastrophe, I believe that they will be supported. That will not be an issue. But I think it's good to have things, laid out so that everybody has a joint and clear path going forward. We've got to be able to get past this. We have got so many issues on our plate coming up. And I'm not even sure, even after this conversation, I know we have to get a bond, in 2 weeks past, because I know we're coming up and we're hitting that deadline. But with all this conversation, I'm not quite sure how that's going to look or work without, some more intensive, discussion and brainstorming to figure out where we all are at and where we want to go with this. And so I don't know if it's going to be one more meeting in between now and 2 weeks. Well, we're going to have to figure out how to do it, somehow, because I'm seeing a whole lot more questions come up than answers, and it's going to be a very interesting, discussion.
So just on that note, we have extended this already to have more conversation, and we do have a deadline to get this to the Muni, I believe, the 1st of December, so that we can put it together. And so our last opportunity to vote on this is our next school board meeting. Ms. Mitchell.
So to follow up on what members Michaelis and Snelling said, maybe we do need a special meeting between now and the next board meeting to have more discussion on this. I don't know. I mean, do people think that at the next boarding meeting we're going to be able to resolve all of these issues, get all of our questions answered, and get something passed?
Ms. Hildy.
Well, the issue is that we simply have to vote. We need, even if we have another meeting, we're going to have to say, yes, I want this, no, I don't, on a couple kind of big things. And I'm not sure another meeting is going to get that done. I think coming prepared with your motions and knowing, as Member Donnelly kind of printed out some of his, that helps you see what we're going to be voting on, and you say yes or no, and at the end of that we should have a bond package that we can all vote on, and hopefully there's 4 people who can support something.
And it may be going through a lot of amendments and voting on those, and it may be quite the process, but we really do need, I think we've gotten a lot of information tonight. I think if there's any other questions you have, and now until the next board meeting to get those answered. And I do think that we need to move forward and vote on this.
Madam President, I will make staff available, and this would be a priority. So as you have questions, if it's a question that hadn't been answered or that would be of interest to all, that it isn't just some idiosyncratic thing, we will publish it to all members. So if one person asks, we'll share it with all, if it hasn't already been in the documents. If it's new, we'll publish it. If it's just for clarity, we'll just work with you.
And board members just realize that, you know, we want our questions to be precise, I guess, and not incorporate a lot of resources in getting those questions answered. Yes, Mr. Donnelly.
I just wanted to say again how I really do think there's a very clear logical separation of the earthquake repairs from all the other interests that we want to try to address. I don't want to risk the earthquake repairs. They just have to be done. It's a natural disaster. I mean, it's just clearly distinguishable from all the other interests that we're dealing with here. And I think it would just be much fairer to the average voter just to set that aside, because I think it's going to get overwhelming support. And there may be a lot of argument about everything else we do.
Ms. Hildy?
I'll just say I'm just now starting to think about that as an option, but I do see a benefit in communicating that this earthquake is above and beyond our normal deferred maintenance, that it is really a separate issue from everything we've been planning for, that it is a significant event that happened in our district. So I don't know two bonds and risk one of them not getting passed because then we still don't have deferred maintenance. But there is an aspect where you could effectively communicate, here is our regular school bond for our deferred, you know, our ongoing capital needs, and here's something that we didn't have any control over. So I don't know. I just, this is something I've just, you know, heard and haven't really thought through, but I do see a benefit, a potential benefit. I need to think it through some more, but so thank you for, I think somebody else.
And just on a note, that's the reason, you know, just trying to come up with other ideas and ways that, you know, to get the board thinking different solutions. Ms. Bellamy?
Just a question, Madam Chair. So if there was a second bond, and I still disagree with it, but if there was, what would you put in it besides Aquarian?
Well, I think that would be a discussion for the board, to be honest. That wouldn't be what I would put in it.
I mean,
It would,
not personally,
yeah,
meaning us.
right. And that would be the discussion.
I mean, what is the thought then of those of you who, maybe, would we just go through the year 3? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, it's a good starting debate.
Yeah. And I think when somebody has an amendment they want to bring at the next school board meeting, that they would have that ironed out, and that would be something you would vote on, whether it's just Aquarian or if we put other things in there. Board members would bring that amendment to be voted on. And then you'd have to, you know, think about it now and decide how you're going to vote then.
So is that something you want us to submit ahead of time to Katie so she has it in writing?
That would be nice if we can do that. I know things come up during the school board after you've had, you know, discussion that might change those ideas, but as much as we can ahead of time, that certainly helps the process. Okay, I think we've given everybody a lot to think about.
And Madam President, can I clarify with Mr. Anderson again in regard to 80 million is about 4%, which is the recommendation that you put in a year. Presently, we have 80 million over 2 years. The request was to take a look at the second year retirement, which together might be about 120. So a consideration limit, not that things have to be limited, but the board has always asked to stay, I mean, it's not going to be equal, but to stay within parameters of retired debt. So we're looking at another 40 million. Would I guess that to possibly have conversations about?
Yes, that's correct. We've got to go back and look at a couple different options for state bond debt assistance and how that might affect it at varying rates. But yes.
How about we start with that number? We'll look, because again, each separate bond sale could have been 70-30. It could have been 60-40. It could have been something that we paid by ourselves. So there's all different years of bond debt, which makes this a task for Mr. Anderson. But how about a target would be end of week or next Monday to have that number?
Oh, we'll have it by the end of the week.
Okay.
We have about, this year, 53% of all of the bond debt we would have paid off would have been state reimbursed. Obviously, they cut that in half. But I'll look at next year and the following year,
Okay.
end of the week at the latest.
Perfect. Thanks, Mr. Anderson. And that would give the board the numbers that you need, I believe, for, in Member Hildy's discussion, kind of the consideration, whether you use it or not is.
Right. Okay, no further discussion then? So we're going to move forward, and the next thing that comes up on our agenda is RFI. Are there any RFIs that the board is wanting to put forward? Oh, there's one. Oh, there's one on there?
No, there's no new ones.
There's no new ones.
There's one on Greening Middle School. Elisa submitted.
Oh, on looking at making it a 6, 7. Oh, okay, yeah, it's in Board Connect. Yeah. 6 through 8.
That was in Board Connect.
Yeah. So it's already out there. Okay, yes.
I do want to ask one question, but I don't know that it's necessarily an RFI, or I don't know.
Okay.
I'd like to know, and I think it might be in the CAFR, I'm not sure, but what is our previous, say, 15 years of bond history, and going back far enough where it captures, because we used to do 2 bonds in a year, but we stopped doing that, I want to say around 2010 or 2011. And so I'd like to see the history of where we did single bonds, multi-bond, or more than one bond, and what the pass or fail rate was on those.
And Madam President, if I might, to that question, rather than placing on the RFI list, we will actually get that answered because that will help us with this decision. So that will be a priority as well. Jim nodded that he can get that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jim. We appreciate all that hard work. So if we can not have side conversations, please. So the next thing is then new business. Does anyone have new business to bring up besides me? Ms. Michaelis.
So I know that it's probably opening Pandora's box a little bit, but I would love to figure out how this board can have a discussion about cell phones in schools. Yep, I want to go there.
And I did send an article on that, pros and cons, so I shared that with the board.
I second that.
Okay. Yeah. She's just expressing her. Yeah. Ms. Bellamy.
So if, I guess, along with the cell phone question, I'd like to know what our schools are currently doing to manage that. Because I know some schools have cell phone protocols that are very effective. And maybe we could have, get a review of what's being done and what the need is from maybe the principals.
Okay, so, and I'm going to interject here for a minute because I had a conversation with Dr. Bishop this morning, and every time we add something new, it is adding to their list of things to do. We're looking at a new math curriculum. We're looking at a strategic plan. Now we've got this bond that we're asking them to do some things. It's not that I don't want to move forward these new ideas, but remember what we had talked about is centralizing our ideas. So maybe these are things that we can look at for our new goals. If people are, right, yes.
Well, it was my understanding that we prioritize all those things, right? So it doesn't have to be like today.
Right.
Through the board president, I'm asking not this year. Frankly, you set out very strategic planning. You asked for outcomes. Those are what we're working on in addition to any emergencies. So there's quite a few balls in the air, and without new people, it would really be, it would hard to get you a deliverable that's quality. And so that's all I ask, because there are some great things going on, and we want to continue to focus on that.
I second that.
Yeah, and I just think we have to be conscientious of that. We did say that we would focus on 3 things, and we said what those 3 things were, and that's the direction. And even though we have all these things under prioritized, we have to realize that we have less people doing more, and be cognizant of that.
I guess I'd just like to see it get on the list for eventually, because
That
I
we
do
can
think,
do.
I do think it is
Yeah.
an important topic, but I understand, where we are in our critical, needs and staffing and stuff like that, but I want to make sure it gets out there somehow, some way. And June, we don't do much in June. I don't know.
And we'll have your questions answered too, Ms. Bellamy, just in a matter of time.
Anytime in the next year.
I think Mr. Holloman was first, and then you, Ms. Hildy.
Yes, I've got a proposed amendment to the board policy regarding solar, and it would request that when we have proposals for major roof rework or major building rework, that the administration also bring a bond proposal for adding solar capability, along with the inherent payback times and whatnot. I should say, if there's a second.
Would this be something that would need to come up in our policy review committee, though?
It would need to be referred to
Yeah.
committee. So part of the reason of putting it out tonight is so that everybody's aware and can be at the next.
So you're asking it to be
meeting.
referred to committee?
I'm introducing it as new business, and I'm expecting it'll be referred to a committee.
Well, yes, Ms. Hildy.
I support it going to governance. I think this is important to discuss. I don't know if this exact wording, but it's certainly forward thinking. I like that.
Was that a second?
Well, I don't know, we don't really second, we just say we got a
It
feeling
just say
about
that,
it.
Well, it's hard
We're in
introducing more stuff.
We're in support of this moving forward to the governance committee. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And Madam President, might I add, he is the chair of the governance committee,
Yes,
so
he is.
that's perfect.
It'll
All right.
do well there.
Do we, yes, Ms. Hildy.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, so Member Vacalis' concern can just go in the long-term section of the RFI, and just, that way we keep track, somebody already asked that, we don't have to re-ask questions if it comes up again in 6 months, it'll just already be on the list, so.
There's like 3 people that have that same interest.
Yeah.
So there's- yeah, 3 board members, yeah, so we'll get that.
But it'll just go on the long-term,
Ms. Mitchell?
So I just have a question. We have, I was talking to board members of a couple of other school districts in the past couple months, and we were talking about curriculum development. And given that that's one of the responsibilities of the school board to approve curriculum, they were saying that in their districts, they usually have a board member on the curriculum committee so that they really understand the process that was gone through, the parameters that were established, the criteria that were used, and they found that to be very helpful. So I wanted to ask our board what we think of that. I know that there's a math curriculum review coming up. I know that there's the 6 through 8 ELA. Is that done? That's still going on?
No, it's 6 through 8 is.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so we're ready. So the math would be the next one. Whether the board thinks it would be worthwhile to have a board member of that committee, and obviously I would also like to hear what the superintendent thinks of that. And it doesn't have to be tonight. It can be something we can discuss a different time, but I just wanted to put it out there.
Any comments on that?
I think there was interest in the past, and it's absolutely appropriate. In the past, because there wasn't a system, a board member got on as a community member instead of a board member. So when that happened, not anyone's intention, but the look was that the board member gets to vote as a community member and then again as a board member. So I think having an official person that works, that is assigned, is that the whole board member selects would be appropriate and welcomed.
And, we could discuss if it is a double voting kind of thing, maybe the board member is there as a participant, but as a non-voting participant. I mean, that could all be discussed, but it just, when this person was telling me about this, it kind of made sense to me.
Yeah, no, just through the board chair. It wasn't about the concern was double voting because the person was voting as a community member and a board member. I don't think there would be a concern with a board member vote. It was just the double as community member, board member. And it was just inadvertently just someone wanting to participate.
Was that me?
Yes, Madam President. If you would like to nominate the Madam President for the curriculum, but it's appropriate and I think it's works well.
So if I have any board member that's interested in that, please let me know.
I like that.
Okay. All right, thank you. So anything else, new business? I have one item. Okay, there is right now a ballot initiative. It's a bill. It's a ballot initiative. It's called the Alaskan Students Educational Bill of Rights. We as a board have been asked to support this, I guess, and so we are going to put this on our non-agenda items for next board meeting to have a discussion on this and maybe talk about some concerns we have and just moving forward. So, all right, if there's nothing else, we do have another chance for public testimony. Is there anyone that would like to testify that hasn't testified? Or if they want to testify on a different topic, please come forward. Right. And just state your name for us, please.
William Whalen. Good evening, everyone. I will be brief. I've spoken to many of you before about Aquarian Charter School. And I appreciate the robust discussion and opposing viewpoints expressed tonight. Obviously, I come to the table with a very strong view in favor of including Aquarian on the bond. I also heard some statements tonight that were inconsistent with a fairly substantial amount of work and digging in ASD records that I've done, particularly related to the Facility Condition Index report. I heard tonight that Aquarian was not at the top of a Facility Condition Index score in 2015. I have documents that I've provided to several of you. I'm happy to provide to the entire board. The short answer is it was called the Critical Facility Condition Index score. Aquarian was ranked #1. The other critical document that I just want to flag for people was a prioritized unfunded needs list. And for me, focusing on the entire school doesn't necessarily make as much sense as focusing on the specific projects that are really most in need. As I've discussed with some of you, Aquarian was not at the top of that list in 2015, but every single school that was above that Aquarian in 2015 has since been taken care of, and we're still waiting. The other thing that I heard was that Aquarian is currently 30th on the FCI score right now, even if you assume that the FCI score is the right metric to look at. There are 6 different FCI scores in the current 2019 CIP. The number I've seen was 13th. Of those, 8 schools are either already bonded or slated to be bonded in the current 6-year plan. I guess all of this is to say that as you are asking the ASD for additional information, I would request respectfully that you also include the APC in those conversations, because we may not share the exact same viewpoint, and I'd like to at least have you guys have the benefit of differing views on appropriate prioritization of ASD schools. Thank you.
Is there any? Yes, come forward, please. Thank you. And if you could state your name and spell it for us, please.
My name is Julie Pepe. I am the principal of Winterberry Charter School. And I just wanted to make a brief statement about charter schools in general and my understanding. This is my first year as principal. I have been part of Winterberry Charter School since the beginning as a parent, and then as a teacher, and now as principal. capacity building. And anyway, I have a lot of love for charter schools, and I think that it's important. And I also have a great appreciation for Aquarian and the work that they've done with the students for all these years. I wanted to just echo my sentiment is my stream colleague spoke about, as far as looking at what charter schools, I mean, just reviewing when we're talking about funding. I guess for me, what the Aquarian issue brings up is the rent element, in the fact that in our charter school we pay to our landlord $35,000 a month to have our school to pay the rent for that. And since the beginning of Winterberry, there's been many lean times and worries and things like that. And we just recently put an addition on our building, which we saved for. When we first moved into the building, it wasn't quite what we needed as far as our teachers, and so we saved from our budget. We have a very lean budget, and we continue to be really prudent with our public money that we have the privilege of using. So I just wanted you to keep in mind what we're charter schools in general. We have 9 charter schools, 8 of which pay rent, and just keep that in mind as far as that goes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to testify? Yes, And again, if you could state your name, please.
Sure. I'm waiting for my time.
Oh, no, go ahead and state your name
okay,
ahead
good.
of time.
Catherine Wood.
Okay.
Catherine Wood, with a C or K?
With a K.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to testify a couple weeks ago. I guess my one additional comment that I would like to make is a lot of statements have been made inferring that perhaps Aquarian is in the situation that it's in because we haven't done a good job of maintaining the building that we have, or that we haven't been paying maintenance funding. And that is not correct. We paid $328,000 in maintenance last year. So it is not a question of funding that should have been used for maintenance being deferred into other things. It is clearly, in my mind, a question of moving beyond a system or a roof that's maintainable, right? 767 roof repairs. I was shocked to hear that number and think, how come somebody didn't say earlier than that, like, this is clearly a systemic problem with the roof that we can't just keep doing. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I think it's a point of confusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other individuals that would like to testify this evening, or actually tonight? Yes, please come forward. And if you could just state your name and spell it, please.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Bailey, and I am the parent of some children that are at Aquarian. And I thought a lot about whether or not I should speak up. And I guess what really resonated with me is that I've been a single parent for a really long time. And there have been many times that I have run my car with my check engine light on. You know, there are people that they plan ahead and they know that as soon as their check engine light comes on, they need to do something about it, or they plan ahead for their maintenance. But when you're running really lean, you ask the mechanic things like, how can we patch it through? What do we really have to do to get this by? And what I continue to hear over and over about Aquarian is that we are way past the check engine light in terms of maintaining our investment, even in the building, just as a building investment for the Anchorage School District, and certainly for our children. My son is 8 years old. He wrote a letter to the school board, and he talked about leaking pipes in the classroom. He talked about heat, and I wouldn't send him to a childcare facility that was in that same condition. We would be concerned about going to a hospital in that condition. I have worked with many licensed healthcare facilities over the years and looked at their licensing guidelines. And so just on the doing the right thing, I feel concerned that we're way past the check engine light point. We're at the point of the engine blowing up. And then we don't only lose the investment that all of these parents and families have made to Aquarian, which is tremendous personal capital and kids that want to learn, but we also lose the financial investment for the district that building is that can continue to go forward. I think that sends the wrong message to our children when they're coming to work every day to learn and be creative and be excited about school, and they're seeing their parents drive them or make creative carpool arrangements to make it work. It sends them the wrong message that we're not equally investing their energy with our energy. And so I urge you to support Aquarian on the bond package as a single bond package to send the message to the community that they understand that while there needs to be a further discussion about equity of charter schools, that now is the time to deal with the emergency before we lose the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to testify? Okay, if there's no one else, this is the time that we have for school board and administration comments. Do we have any? Yes, Mr. Donnelly.
Thank you, Madam President. I earlier during our discussion of Aquarian, the administration identified that the roof was in the top 5. I was wondering before our next meeting, could they make that a little more specific, where the roof project would actually fall within that top 5?
Madam President, to Member Donnelly, absolutely, we'll do that. And then the question about the numbers and the ranking, prior to Tom Roth leaving, he was the one who notified me that it's 13th on the list. So I'm not sure where the 30th. We'll also get clarification about that. I don't know if we're talking about 2 different lists, but the testimony was also confusing to me. So I'll ensure that we have those answers.
And Madam President, in preparation for our next major earthquake, I spent a week being trained in advanced FEMA emergency management since our last meeting. I had 3 years ago got my basic FEMA certification in emergency management, but this was a much more advanced course offered through Homeland Security with the fire department. And I feel like I'm ready for the next earthquake. I really understand. I really understand how to organize a response now.
Okay. Well, I'm confident in that, but I will just tell you firsthand, I am not ready for the next one. Ms. Mitchell.
So I am so pumped up. I went to a dyslexia conference Friday and Saturday. I wasn't able to stay the entire day on Saturday, but then I was able to go. There were 2 national experts who were brought up here, and on Monday I was able to go to hear a district training that Pam Kastner gave, and it was just wonderful, and it really drove home how hard our kids work in school and how hard our teachers work to teach our kids, and the efforts with the English language arts that we're doing. And I think we're going to see some great payouts, but I just wanted to share something. There is a theory of learning to read that was developed by Scarborough, and it's called the rope theory or the many strands theory. And there are 2 parts now people realize that it takes to learn to read. One is the printed word recognition that we've been hearing a lot about in the past 3 years, learning the phonemes. Is that what they're called? Diane, help me out if you're here.
Printed word or the phonological is
the
what you can do in the
phonological
dark.
awareness,
Yeah.
the decoding, the sight recognition, and I learned all about sight recognition and how it's not memorizing words. It was just fascinating. So that strand of the rope has 3 parts to it, and they all have to work together. If the 3 parts don't work together, then you've got a problem there. So you've got the one strand of the rope that is printed word recognition, but then there's a whole nother part that has 5 strands to it in that rope. And these are the things that are that we can work really hard in our schools to do too, but we really need families and parents to be working on these before our kids get to school. One that's really important is background knowledge. So you can learn to decode elephant, or you could learn to decode the word lumbering. But if you have no idea what lumbering means, or if you've never been to a zoo, you have never seen a book. We have kids who start kindergarten who have never seen a book. You have no idea what an elephant is. You won't have the reading comprehension because you don't have the language comprehension. You can sound out the word, and the woman, Dr. Kastner, who was here, compared it to when her brother-in-law was visiting, and he's the chair of a biology department, and gave her a copy of a paper that he was working on. She said, I could read each word perfectly. I could not understand anything. I didn't have the background knowledge. I didn't have the vocabulary. I didn't have the language structure for how they state things. And the verbal reasoning and the literacy and print knowledge. And that's the other strand. And those things all have to come together. And then you weave those things together. It is unbelievably complex. And it was just really a wonderful, wonderful event. And I think just the training was here on Monday, and it was just exciting to see the teachers and some of the principals and instructional coaches getting excited. And I'm really thrilled with the way the district is going, and I'm hoping that that excitement and that, our teachers, I think they are feeling more comfortable with what we're doing, and as they hear more of these in-depth types of training, I think that we'll really see impact on our students. And I hope that we as a board, one of the things that I heard over and over again Saturday at the conference, and there were a couple of early childhood teachers at the conference on Saturday, which was really exciting because they need to know this stuff to work with their kids and help them get ready for school. But I think we as a board need to make sure that we really do provide resources for really strong, robust professional development, because those teachers were so excited, and a lot of the stuff was being modeled for them, but as Dr. Kastner said, these one and dones, it needs to be reinforced. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that, and I've got a bunch of information here. It did grow out of the dyslexia task force, and it just was very exciting. So I was pleased to have the opportunity, and just wanted to share that.
Thank you for sharing, Ms. Mitchell. Ms. Hildy.
I'm very excited about our strategic planning forum starting up, but I just want to encourage you, as you talk to community members, to effectively communicate the $240 million that we will be short over the next 6 years. If we plan using money we're not going to have, we will not achieve our goals. So as we discuss with the community, and that's just our regular traditional state funding, the structure of our budget has us that short, and we will have to remove that. I mean, there's no choice. That number will have to be addressed. There's no rational basis to think we're going to get $600 million extra dollars statewide over the next 6 years on top of the base student. I'm an optimist. I think there's a wonderful opportunities for us to do really good things for our students, but it requires looking at things in a very different way. And I hope that as you talk, you continue to challenge people to look beyond how we're doing things currently, because there will be a change, whether we plan for it or whether we kind of just hope. I mean, the math tells us there will be a change. So we can plan for it, or we can just, chip away at stuff and watch things kind of erode. I would like to do the part where we plan for it.
Any other board comments or administration over there? I never hear from you guys. All right. Well, on that note then, thank you, everyone. I think it's been a good meeting. And do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? We have a second? Okay. We are adjourned.